Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey, where there's a lot of news that's breaking and a lot of information we're going to be dumping on you with previews tonight. And, of course, later on in the show, we're going to have Jonny Lazarus from the NHL, an NHL analyst, coming on down, Daily Faceoff Zone. But first, I'm your host, Marc Williams. Still sporting the beard, everybody, because it's not that itchy yet. It's still going to get even itchier. And the man who's outside right now and loving life, Mr. Anthony LaRocco, the fourth period.
What's going on, gentlemen? Fortunately for Islander fans, last night didn't go their way, but I guess you could say it was to be expected.
And of course, the man ready, 4 down, and 12 to go, Mr. John Falkowski, the host of the Final Buzzer.
What's up with this up here?
I was just starting off with that. It's back to getting.
I'm like wondering why that was up there for me. I'm like, what's going on here? But interesting series coming up. Funny that we have our special guest Jonny Lazarus coming in. That was pretty funny how that whole came about. We'll probably talk about that when he gets on, but going to be real interesting to see. A lot of people have Rangers as the underdog. I welcome it.
Well, let's see all about whether or not they are the underdog, because after all, we'll listen to Vegas, see what they think about it. And let's go to the A block. First, we're going to start with the team, unfortunately, whose season ended last night, the New York Islanders, after losing 6-3 to the Carolina Hurricanes. They were eliminated last night. They allowed the go-ahead goal and the fifth goal of the game 8 seconds apart after valiantly tying the game to close the second period. And just before I ask you, Anthony, the A block is brought to you by Seat Geek. Use the promo code BigAppleHockey for $20 off your first order. Anthony, looking at this series, it was a lot closer than when people are just looking, 4-1 series. How do you describe this loss?
Well, at first, I think it was expected. I mean, everyone picked the Hurricanes to win, and rightfully so. They're one of the best teams in the league. So I would say expected. And then, also if you're an Islander fan, a little disappointing because, realistically, they should have won that game too. They had a 3-0 lead. They blew it. So that series, they really should have had an extra win there. And this series should be going back to UBS for a game 6 right now. But that's not how it went. Islanders blew it. And then, last night, kudos to them for battling back. I mean, they got outshot 21-4 in the first period. They were down 2-0 and then 3-1. Being down 3-1 in a series, they could easily quit at that point, but they did not. They really brought it to the Hurricanes in the second period. They tied the game. And then going into the third period, they gave themselves a chance to win a game and extend the series. But, unfortunately, there were 2 really, really unlucky bounces for their favor. Marc, as we were saying before, a puck that, Pajot would intercept 9 out of 10 times. He was in good position. It just took a bounce over his stick blade and, right to Jack Drury. And then 8 seconds later, the puck takes a fluke carom off the end wall right to the front of the net. And Varlamov, obviously he can't expect that to happen. So he went to anticipate and pick it off behind the net. And it took a Hurricane favored bounce. And that was it. So, unfortunately the Hurricanes got a little lucky in that regard, but, the Islanders dug their own grave by, really blowing that lead in game 2. So, it's unfortunate that their season's over. You could tell that the guys after the game were really dejected and upset. They believed in their group and they thought they could come back, and it wasn't meant to be. So we go here through the offseason now. Lou Lamoriello is going to have some decisions to make, and it'll be interesting to see what direction he goes. But one thing I just want to say, just in general. You got to give Patrick Waugh credit because, he took over a team that was floundering, and, yes, they did have a 6-game losing streak under him. But he really cleaned up a lot of areas of their game. And I think similar to if you guys remember what I said last year with Bo Horvat, I said with a full training camp with Horvat stapled next to Barzell, he'd be a lot more comfortable. And his play would be a lot better. And that's what happened with him. I think this coming, off season, Wa's going to have a full year here of training camp to really implement things. And so I think next year is going to be a whole lot better for the Islanders in terms of their coaching and how Wa wants them to play. But again, no surprise, they were a severe underdog and they played a really good team, and the Hurricanes got the job done. So. Now it's like I said, it's moving on to the off season and seeing which direction they want to go. Because, like I said, Lamoriello has a lot of decisions to make.
Phil, how would you describe the Islanders' series loss to the Hurricanes?
Self-inflicted. It seems like a lot of. I mean, you could talk about the bad bounces in Game 5, which I do agree with. Couple of really, really bad bounces that really cost them, especially that weird stanchion bounce that ended up coming out front for their fifth goal, I think it was. But just you have a 3-goal lead in Game 2, and that's really where they blew this series, was losing Game 2. Like, you cannot have one shot in an entire third period and just get outworked like that and lose that game. There's no way. Game 2 was a backbreaker. It was an absolute backbreaker. To lose that game had to absolutely demoralize that team, and then not come back and win Game 3, which was a must win for them at that point. After that result was just, it wasn't good. And a lot of it is just old habits seeming to die hard with from going from Lambert to Wall and sitting back on leads and not playing and keeping your foot on the pedal and going for the kill when you have a chance to get the kill. So, yeah, I would say a lot of this was self-inflicted. It shows that they're going to have to do some serious changes in the offseason when it comes to implementing Wa's system and really kind of hammering home the mentality of the game isn't over after 20, 40 minutes or whatever. You have to play 60 minutes of hockey, whether you like it or not, because that's been the one thing that really haunted that Islanders team all year. That's why they were where they were. Instead of being, maybe they could have been second in the division, and they could have, maybe they could have been second and had home ice or something like that. Or maybe they could have finished elsewhere. Who knows? Maybe they could have fought with the Rangers for the division if you weren't, getting to overtime and losing all those games. I can't even count how many points they lost by getting to overtime and not getting those victories. It's got to be
at least 16.
So at least 16, yeah. So but this is actually a good comment here from John Radigan. I thought we were going to see more of Iskakov, and there just wasn't enough of it. And a team that needs offense, you figured they would try to infuse some sort of offense, but I mean, I don't know why they didn't. Anthony, you could probably speak to that a little more than I could there.
Anthony on Ichkov.
Well, I mean, he played his first ever game, the last game of the regular season. And I think, in terms of what he brings, speed and skill certainly would help. But, the Hurricanes are also a big, fast, physical team. And I guess in a high pressure environment, Wa wanted to go with more veteran players. So, I mean, he did play Game 4. I mean, he didn't play all that much, but I mean, honestly, if he played more, it wouldn't have made a whole lot of a difference. But I think maybe next year he gets his shot if they re-sign him as an RFA. We'll see what happens there. But one thing someone pointed out earlier in the comments, that first goal that Varlamov let up last night was heinous. I mean, he was really good down the stretch, and in general, he was good in the playoffs. But in a game where you must win, you're talking the first 2 minutes of the game, he lets up a goal like that. That can't happen. That was an and then to compound that, 2 minutes later, they took a penalty and they got scored on. So they did two things that you absolutely can't do. Get scored on early, and then they didn't stay out of the box and they got scored on again. So, unfortunately, it was a perfect storm there. But again, though, kudos to them for battling back because they could have closed up shop, but they didn't. They fought back in the game, and so I got that is a plus. But I didn't like the start to the game at all.
No, wasn't good.
Yeah, and I guess my two ways of summing up this series is loss of opportunity or squandered opportunity, if you will, and just momentum. Because there were times where this series, I'm just watching the series, I'm thinking, Carolina, geez, they're running rings around the Islanders. There's nothing going on. What are the Islanders going to do? Look at game 4. Oh, no, there's going to be a sweep. It's going to be easy. Matt Barzal stops, turns, and fires one just past Freddie Anderson from the high slot. You're like, okay. And then suddenly the Islanders were back in it. It happened left and right in this series. And I can't help but just look at this and think, all right, if the Islanders would have won game 2, you close that out. Even if they went to overtime and there was at least an overtime loss there, you feel better than what happened at the end of game 2. And yeah, the Canes scored twice in the series under 9 seconds apart. That's unheard of. And I think now, granted, one of those times it was a bad bounce off the end boards, but that's also why, as a player, I'm going, I don't want my goalie coming out of the net almost ever. So sometimes that happens, and that's gone back decades.
That's not on Varlamov. I mean, there's no
it's
way.
It's not really on Varlamov.
No, neither of those two bad bounce ones were on Varlamov. They were just weird bounces, and that happens. I mean, maybe Carolina is having their stanchions a certain way to try to catch goalies like that. So who knows?
Yeah, but it could happen to them too.
It could.
So you got to be worried about that. And Anthony, to further your point about bad bounces, even the Stefan Nason game winner in game 1, that was another one. Yeah. That was just a bad bounce.
Yeah, I know it was. And, when they scored that 4th goal yesterday, I still thought the Islanders, they weren't out of it. There was, at that time, there was still like 12, 13 minutes left. I was pretty confident they could have tied the game once again, but 8 seconds later for that 5th goal to happen, I think that took all the wind out of our sails. And at that point you realize that, that it was over. But, again, sometimes
Anthony, let me say this too. Even on the empty net goal, the pass Dobson gives Nelson, that's on his stick. It's off his stick, and then you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't fumble over his stick, and it's a walk-in empty net goal after that.
Yeah, I mean, at that point the game is over. So when Nelson kind of got that puck and then lost his footing, it was already over likely. So that didn't really
that's
matter.
The way the puck was bouncing. That's all.
That didn't really matter too much. But again, unfortunately, the Islanders matched up with a team that wasn't a good matchup for them. I mean, the Hurricanes have beat them 3 times now in the playoffs since 2019. They just don't match up well against them. I mean, that's just how it goes. If the Islanders were playing the Maple Leafs or, even the Bruins or even the Lightning, they match up better against those teams. The Hurricanes just have their number for whatever reason. So once the Islanders got the Hurricanes, you kind of knew that it was kind of, wasn't going to go their way. But again, Mark, you said it best. The series was closer than it appeared. A lot of the games were 1-goal games and then some empty netters. But I think the guys in that room though have to take inventory and realize that this might be the last time that they're all together because I think come September the group's going to look a little different.
One comment and then a question for you. First, I'm going to make this comment. I of course am one of those guys that'll make a big deal about the shot differential. I go on about it all the time. It seems to me like Patrick Waugh doesn't care about that. He'll go 21-4. He doesn't care. He just wants like 4 good shots. That's all he wants. So that's seems to be all he ever coaches. And so I can't kill him too much on that. My question for you, really quick, Anthony, is Lou Lamoriello the guy that's going to make the decisions?
Yeah, I've the narrative of some Islander fans just harping on that Lou Lamoriello needs to be gone. And I get it, I understand it, but it's not. He's not leaving unless he decides to walk away on his own. He's not. The owners aren't going to fire him. I mean, they made the playoffs again. 5 out of 6 years since he's been there. They made the playoffs, 2 conference finals appearances. I don't think he's going anywhere. So, you just have to live with it that he's gonna be back, and he's let's face it, he's likely going to be the general manager of this team until he decides that he doesn't want to do it anymore. You know, maybe if he stays on next year and they miss the playoffs altogether and they're abysmal, which I don't see happening, then maybe he gets the axe. But I think Lou Lamoriello is going to be back, and he's going to be the general manager of the team again, whether Islander fans like it or not. So you just have to live with that, and and for all of, I don't want to get too far off topic, but for all of Lou's shortcomings, I mean, he's also done a lot of good. I mean, we all rattled it off. I mean, he changed the outlook of this organization. How they're run, they're respected again. He has made good decisions. Bring in Bo Horvat. I mean, he had a couple of good contract re-signings value wise. The Brock Nelson contract years ago was great. So he's pushed right buttons, but then he's also done bad things too, which all general managers have. But again, at the end of the day, Lou Lamoriello, I don't think is going to go anywhere. I'd be shocked if he did.
Phil, real quick word on Lou before we move on.
I think they need to move on from him. I think there needs to be a mentality change up at the top. I think there needs to be a new outlook on the organization. There needs to be a new. Oh God, Alex Goldberg going to the Roman Reigns record. Oh geez. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I do think that I think that he needs to move on from him. Must be a Daniel Jones fan. Yeah, well, Daniel Jones fan. Sorry, Scott.
I'm torn on it, Phil. It's just I think he's just got to retool things.
Thank you.
I don't know if he's going to, though, because this is somebody that's set in his ways, and we've seen this for over 10 years now, that this guy just doesn't seem to get that hockey is going more towards skill and speed and youth, and he just continues to throw big contracts at depth players, and that's not how you build a team. It's really not. I mean, if he changes things around this offseason and goes with a completely different approach, I'll eat my crow at that point. But I don't think that he's going to do that. I don't see it.
All right. Well, guys, unfortunately, last night's loss has now sealed in I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately. We've all been waiting for this series for a long time, and we're going to start it right now. We're going to start the Rangers versus Carolina Hurricanes preview. You can check out my thoughts on X, where I have the Eye of the Storm article on there. So let's go back to here. And Philk, what is the overview of this series?
A lot of speed, a lot of depth, some good scoring. The Rangers will be tested. This is the series in which they get tested. When you talk about the Capitals and how they led for all but 3 minutes and 21 seconds of that game, or of that series rather. But yeah, this is going to be their big test, and they're likely, if they win this series, then they're going to face the winner of whoever, whether it's Florida and then either Boston or Tampa, which is still to be determined. But this is their big test as of right now. If they win this series, it's possible they could come out of the East. But Carolina is a team that's going to be hungry for vengeance for 2 years ago. They're a better team then than they were now, or they're a better team now than they were then. They had a better power play now, better penalty kill now. The one thing that I have seen is that their penalty kill has not been as great in this postseason against an Islander team that really didn't have a great power play. So if the Rangers can take advantage of that, that's going to be paramount for them. The other thing is that they may not have Brett Pesce for this series. And again, that's paramount for the Rangers to take advantage of too, because now you have Tony DeAngelo and Brady Shea. And as Pete has said in the chats, DeAngelo is someone who doesn't optimize Shea's play. Shea's play is optimized when he's playing with someone like Pesce or Slavin, where he can kind of, do his thing and still get back and play defensively. But he's not the same defenseman when you have a guy that's a defensive liability like DeAngelo out there with him. So, the loss of Brett Pesce cannot be overstated. And that's somebody who logs well over 20 minutes a game in their top four. And the Rangers, Pesce is out of his walk. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. We'll see what happens there, Kashi, but that's going to be tough. We've seen people come back from injuries early like that, and they're not at the same level. They're not playing nearly as well. So if he comes back, good. I would go right after him, and I'd fire slap shots right at that foot.
And we'll see if that's one of the game plans that they got. They're already going to go after that spot because DeAngelo's in the lineup instead.
If he gets in the way, fire the shot right at his foot.
Anthony, what is one of your X factors you're looking for in this series?
Can Jake Gensel get going? I mean, the Islanders held Jake Gensel to 1 goal, and it was an empty net goal. Gensel wasn't really too much of a factor against the Islanders. If Gensel gets going with scoring goals, that could be something that tips the scale in the Hurricanes' favor.
He's gonna block the shots. I mean, Brian Leetch did the same thing. 2003, came back from a broken ankle, came back and broke his ankle again against, I think it was against Buffalo, where he broke his ankle blocking a shot. Fire it right at him.
Before I get right back to Anthony, you have to take advantage of anybody's weakness. It's not gamesmanship. You're firing shots on net. You're not firing shots at his ankle, though. But anyway, go ahead, Anthony.
I was saying Gensel was quiet against the Islanders. I think if Gensel can really get going with scoring goals like we know he can, I think that, obviously that would be huge for the Hurricanes. So for the Hurricanes, I would say Gensel. And for the Rangers, I would say the X factor is disrupting the Hurricanes game. Transitioning the puck out of the zone. The Hurricanes, what they do so well, better than any other team, when other teams wrap the puck around the wall, their defensemen activate and they get on that wall and they hold the puck in, and they're very aggressive. So if the Rangers can make, first clean passes and get out of the zone quickly, and don't give the Hurricanes the opportunity to keep the puck in, I think that would go a long way with disrupting the Hurricanes' game.
Phil, what do you got for your X factor in the series?
I'm gonna say two things. First is Artemi Panarin. Artemi Panarin has to get going in the series. I think he had 3 points, 2 goals, but they were game winners in the series against the Capitals. I think there's another level. I like the compete level, but I think there's another level to him offensively. I think this is actually something that I wanted to bring up at another point in time, but since it's here, this Carolina team plays this way for 90 plus games a year. And is that sustainable? I mean, this rest will definitely help, but is that sustainable? The Rangers clearly must have decided to take like a month and a half to 2 months off and just kind of mess around and still win the President's Trophy. They turned it on come February 1st. So the Rangers were the first one to clinch their series. So they've got more rest than anybody. So let's see how that energy, goes throughout the series. The other thing I was going to say is that Anthony talked about how Carolina activates their defense and they pinch in, and that's how they're able to kind of keep pucks in the zone and play with that intense forecheck and pressure. The Rangers have beaten this, and they beat it 2 years ago. It's the same system. They beat it with a lesser coach, and they beat it because puck support is paramount. So when that defender activates in and pinches in at the point, the first pass, one, has to be clean. But there has to be puck support breaking out up the middle at that point, because that's how you beat that pressure. Because at that point, when that defenseman activates and he's on the corner pinching in there, then that opens up a lane for that pass to the middle from the boards. That player skating out, he's got the puck, and that's how you can break out of the zone with a 3-man rush and catch Carolina in transition. That's how you beat them. That's how the Rangers beat them 2 years ago, and that's how Florida made quick work of them last year. So Carolina, for all the shots that they get and all the time that they can spend in the offensive zone, they do get a lot of shots from the outside. And that's because they're playing that game. But if you catch them in transition, that's when you will open them up. That's when they will become prone to start to take penalties. And that's when you can get on a power play and score on them. And that penalty kill is very aggressive. They were during the season. They weren't against the Islanders in that series at many times. And the Islanders got to them and beat that penalty kill. That Ranger power play is much better, moves the puck much quicker, and has 5 options compared to maybe 1 or 2 for the Islanders. So tell you right now, the Rangers can get on that power play. They can beat them. And if they transition quickly, they can absolutely beat Carolina.
My 2 X factors, we'll go first. Anthony, I 100% agree with you. Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel 2 years ago against the New York Rangers, 8 goals, 2 assists in that first round 7-game series loss with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was channeling his inner John Druce, if Ranger fans remember who that is.
I know who that is.
And again, you're talking about a guy that he can completely change around things and terrorize the Rangers. If he's who the Islanders faced last round, the Rangers are gonna be fine. So we're gonna see what Jake Gensel could do, because Jake Gensel is definitely a guy who, this is why he's here. He's here to beat the Rangers. The other X factor I'm going to say is Alexei Lafreniere. One thing that's different this year about the Rangers and the way they're set up, as opposed to the first time these 2 teams faced 2 years ago, Lafreniere is now the guy that's going to be hitting people, freeing things up. And by the way, Vinny Trocheck too, while we're at it, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
He's going to be freeing things up for Artemi Panarin. I'm going to say it right now. It's going to be a better series for Lafreniere. And if he starts scoring, Carolina is going to be going home very quickly. Now, so now that we got those guys out of the way, those X factors, let's talk about some of the under the radar players. Phil, I'm going to start with you.
This is a series where
Anthony, what do you got there? Popcorn?
Mm-hmm.
This is a series where I want to see the 4th line make a big difference in, because their depth is going to be tested. I want to see Jimmy Vesey and Barclay Gaudreau and guys like that make a big difference. I also want to see where Filipino ends up playing. I think he's going to play in this series. I just think it's a matter of time. Obviously, eyes are going to be on Matt Rempe and how he's going to be able to keep up with this team and whether or not he stays in the lineup. Because if they feel like that he can't stay in the lineup, or he takes too many penalties or whatever the case may be, he may end up being a black ace like in '94. So I really look at that line and what they're going to give. Another player that I think is going to be a little under the radar that I think should have more eyes on him but may not is going to be Alexander Wennberg. What can Alexander Wennberg do to stifle their offense and shut down their top players?
Anthony, who do you got under the radar?
For the Rangers, Peter Pruka, and for the Hurricanes, Robert Cron.
We're going back to 1995 and 2005 here.
Okay. Robert Cron. How about that for a name drop?
Yeah.
Now,
I've been wanting to do that on Instagram, by the way, Anthony. Random NHL player, because I started thinking about Dmitry Kovarlanov.
I just like to bring a little humor, but no. In all seriousness, for the Hurricanes, I'm going to use the same guy I used in the Islanders series, Stefan Noesen. I mean, he kills the Islanders. He had 3 goals in 5 games. He scored the game winner in game 1. Last night in game 5, he was the one that was able to tap the puck in on that weird bounce. And then in game 4, the game the Islanders won, he tied the game late in the 3rd. This is a guy that plays on their power play unit, first unit. He stands in front of the net. He deflects pucks. He's always Johnny on the spot. And he's an under the radar type player for the Hurricanes. For the Rangers, I'm going to go with Lafreniere too. I think Lafreniere, for the Rangers to have success, he needs to put up points 5-on-5, play a heavy game, get in there and bang bodies on the Hurricanes on defense, and just try to supplement Panarin and the Rangers' primary scoring as much as he can, because the Hurricanes are going to be able to score goals. You know that for the Rangers, Panarin's going to bring it. Hopefully, Zibanejad scores. Trocheck's has been one of the Rangers' best players all year. But if Lafreniere can really get going too, that would be a huge plus for the Rangers.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, because you guys both mentioned Lafreniere, and I do agree that he's one of them. Is that Lafreniere and Trocheck too, both open up a lot of things for Panarin. This is a different Panarin from 2 years ago. The Artemi Panarin of 2 years ago didn't have that help. He had passenger like Ryan Strome and Trident Hunt and whatever else they wanted to throw on that line of right wing. I think these two will help open up things for him. I think the bigger physical players on Washington posed a little more of a threat to Panarin. I think this speed game that's going to evolve is going to help Panarin out immensely. And I think that Lafreniere, if he's going in there and he's banging bodies and he's opening up space and he's making plays like he can, I think that opens up a lot more for Panarin. I also think Trocheck going and winning a lot of those 50-50 battles and loose puck battles and so on, and being a far better defensive center than Strome, will also open up a lot for Panarin as well. So that's why I think Panarin is my X factor, because I think if all those factors come into play, I think Panarin can have a huge series. And I think this is the legacy series that they need from Artemi Panarin right here.
Anthony, I'm going to go with what you said, except I'm going to go to the other side of that line. Jordan Martinook, he was outstanding versus the New Jersey Devils last postseason in the second round. He outscored Connor McDavid in their first 5 games if you put them head to head. Like, that's you can't have that from a third line player. But Jordan Martinook went off in the worst way last year. And if you look at that third line in general, Nason, Martinook, Drury, there's 3 of your 4 game-winning goals against the Islanders last season. Do not sleep on that line. I don't want to call it the third line, because does Carolina even have a third line? I mean, do they have a fourth line? Because I know Kuznetsov is listed on that on Daily Faceoff, but I wouldn't put him as a fourth line center. The other one, I said Filipino in the article. I'm going to have to go Capo Caco in this series. He's going to have to be real good again. And it's going to be interesting to see where they're going to put Hedl, because I think Hedel's going to play better with Caco. But the Caco and that, and Wenberg and Cooley, they had a great series. I know it showed up with like just 1 goal that they had, but they controlled the play. Guys,
I think also, just real quick, I think for the Hurricanes, Jordan Staal is going to be an under the radar type player, because he was tasked with playing against Matt Barzal. And Barzal still had 5 points in 5 games, which isn't bad. And, Barzal is such a better skater than Jordan Staal, but yet Jordan Stahl's big and he's just always in the right position, and he was able to still hold him in check. So I think Jordan Stahl is going to be tasked with playing hard on Panarin. He's going to try to frustrate him at times. Panarin's just going to have to stay patient and pick his spots, but Jordan Stahl is going to probably be draped all over him in the series. So
Anthony, good point with that. And let me just say this as well. 27 hits in that first round series for Jordan Staal. And I think that was second in the NHL. I'd have to double check that one right now. Guys, we haven't done this in a while. I'm going to surprise you a little bit on this one. Just really quick before we get to the prediction. Anthony, take the role of the Carolina Hurricanes. Can you give me a little WWE smack talk?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God. No, I'm gonna pass on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
You're not gonna do it. Then
not feeling this.
You're not feeling it. All right, guys.
No.
Wow, both of you at the same time rolled your eyes. Oh, all right, guys. These are the odds from DraftKings. So, the Rangers obviously the favorite. Carolina, I thought it would be an even narrower favorite to go with that. So we're gonna go into our predictions.
Wait, did you just say the Rangers are the favorite? The team that's plus is the underdog.
Oh,
minus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read it. Okay. Well, I read it backwards. All right. The GIF is there, guys. So, in other words, the Rangers are the underdog in this one. All right. So, Phil, there you go. The Rangers going to brace the underdog series.
That's why I said that.
Yeah. Well, I make one mistake in this entire sequence, and I'm going to get lambasted for it. I already know. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Who do you have winning this series?
I think it's going to be a really close series. I mean, if you do want a WWE style reference, I will say, as good old JR would say, it's going to be a slobber knocker. Um, I think it's going to be, you know, must see TV. I think both teams are really good, but my gut, I'm going to say Rangers in 7. You know, from watching the series, I saw what the Islanders were able to do to the Hurricanes, and the fact that the Islanders were able to play them really tight, losing a lot of 1-goal games. Like, for instance, if the Islanders had an extra score on the team, you say to yourself, in maybe one of those games, that would have put them over the top. Well, the Rangers have that extra firepower, so you know, I think the Rangers are going to take the series. I mean, I think it can go either way, but I'm leaning towards the Rangers. I just think they have more of an offensive attack than the Hurricanes. I mean, the Hurricanes, I will say, I think they defend better and they play more of a swarming game. I mean, the best adjective I could use to describe the Hurricanes is to be a buzzsaw. That's what they are. I mean, they just overwhelm you at times. But I think the Rangers have the speed and the talent to counteract that. And I like, as good as Freddie Anderson is playing in goal, I take Igor in net all day. So Rangers in 7, and also thank you for calling this out, because I think Bobby Ganoush made a stereotypical type of comment, thinking just because I'm an Islander fan, I'd pick the other team. But as you guys all know, it's not how I roll. Very unbiased. I tell it like it is. And
I say it all the time, Anthony. We wear our fandoms on one sleeve, our opinions on the other, and we don't let them touch. So we call it as it is. Phil, what do you got?
I also have Rangers in 7. I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. I think it's very close. I think the teams are evenly matched. I think the Rangers may lack at wing, but I think they have the distinct advantage at center. I think the defense is close on. I mean, I know that people are going to look at it and say, oh, well, Trouba could be a liability. Gustafsson could be a liability in this series. Tony DeAngelo is a liability. I mean, if Brett Pesce gets back, great. He's going to be playing on a bad foot. Expose that. The other thing I would say is that the Rangers have a distinct advantage in net. I don't care how good Anderson's played. Anderson has been in this league for about 10 years now, and he has not been able to get the job done in the playoffs. Igor has gotten to the conference finals. I trust Igor a lot more, especially with the way that Igor is playing right now. I literally said that Igor let up a softie in game 4 and just proceeded to have a fuck you type game after that. That's really what that was. That first goal was just like, okay, soft, whatever. And then that was it. That was completely it. So, oh no, sorry, that was game 3. My apologies. That was game 3. So, yeah, they definitely winning. They definitely won that game, and Igor just looks like the better goaltender right now, to ask me. And then not only that, but I think if the Rangers get on the power play, I think they can absolutely carve up that Carolina penalty kill, because they did not look that great against the Islanders.
You know what? The simplest thing is to say X team in 7, because I think if you're going to say any team in this series in 7 games, fine. 6 games, you could also say for almost any team. I did go to Rangers in 6 because I think each team is going to win on the road. I think Laviolette can definitely coach his team and get those road wins. Brind'Amour, while he did it against the Islanders, he did pretty well against them, and even like the year before, like they seem to be home heavy. And I think if you can get to them at home, you're going to give a nice little punch in their face. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson, one of the great lines of all time.
Yes.
Igor Shesterkin, he was incredible against the Canes in 2021 with a lesser talented team. 2022, sorry. A lesser talented team, a lesser structured team. Any event. That's the reason why I'm going to go Rangers in 6. Look, Carolina is going to be tough. Guys, this kind of reminds me a little bit I mean, I know in the article I compared it to Rangers Devils in '94, but this could also be comparable to Carolina versus Buffalo in '06. Like, that's how close these teams are. And that took 7 games too. And that was one that Carolina was able to come out victorious on. So, guys, it's going to be a hell of a series. This series would surprise me if it was a short series, and if it is, it would be more towards Carolina versus the Panthers last year, where 3 of those games went to overtime, and the third game it was still fairly close. I can't. As Goldberg is saying, if I see Evgeny Kuznetsov flap his wings, I'm going to lose.
Well, I just hope if that happens, Matt Rempe absolutely destroys him. That's it.
I can't stand Kuznetsov and his slow-ass moving shootout attempts. Grinds my gears.
Well, that is a good point on that, Anthony, because and the fact that he was able to pull that out in the playoffs, one of his 2 goals in this series, I mean, that was a lot that just to watch that.
Hey,
All right.
Mark, before we move on, I just have to throw you under the bus because our viewers like laughing at your mishaps, and I think this one tops the cake, so I think they all need to hear about it. I don't think Phil knows about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're viewing. When I was driving up to our place in Vermont this past week, Mark told me that he was going to Game 3. Well, he went to Game 3 with the Islanders and the Hurricanes, and then he happened to tell me that the reason why he went was because when he got the tickets, he thought it was a Ranger playoff game. And it just blew my mind, because how was one so stupid to get tickets for an Islander game thinking it was a Ranger game? Like, when you go to like StubHub.com, guys, when you type in StubHub.com, you type in the team that you're looking for the tickets. So, okay, if I want to go to an Islanders game, I type in New York Islanders and I select it. So how in the world do you manage to buy tickets to an Islander playoff game thinking it was a Ranger game? I mean, I would love to know, because
the story on it's a little bit easier for you, Anthony, because a friend of mine who runs all things Islanders says, "You want to go to the game on Thursday?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, yeah, the Rangers are playing. All right, that's okay." So they're going to be there.
Hold on. So how do you not look at the Rangers series and be like, "Hey, they're home the first 2 games"?
Yeah,
that mean we're going to
be over Game 3.
How is that not the first question you're asking?
Well,
all right. So I got a funny story. Not going to make this long. Make this very, very short. So my friend Danny, for his birthday, probably about almost 10 years ago, asks me if I want to go to the game the next day, and I'm like, sure, that's cool. I'll get out of work early. So the next thing he says to me is, "Get out of work early?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'll get out so we can catch the train." He's like, "No, it's in Boston. We got to drive up there." So, situational awareness, Mark.
Yeah, and the one thing also is I agreed to it, and then immediately after agreeing to it, I went, "Oh, wait a minute." I'm like, "All right, yeah, go for the podcast. Go and enjoy yourself."
Yeah, get the hook for that one. Josh Hart free throw school.
You had me rolling, Mark. You had me rolling.
Anthony, it's always a great time to go to UBS, by the way, and and it's just it was a great time talking to Islander fans. I mean, I saw a guy that's got a Matthew Schneider Islanders jersey, and that was the Fisherman. There were a couple really good old Islander jerseys, and again, I love looking at obscure players. You're like, who's got this jersey?
The ice cream truck is not only all revved up for small apple hockey, it's playing the bye bye song to have Mark go bye bye to small apple hockey after that.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, there's brain farts for this one. But guys, Phil is gonna flash any more of those comments. You guys wanna roast me a little bit during the DraftKings message? Here we go. So
keep going. I'll display them while the DraftKings message is going. I don't care.
Yeah. So guys, here's a quick message from DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. We got 150 viewers right now. I think Anthony's anecdote actually brought in more people to be like, Mark, what are you smoking? So, but no, guys, I don't have anything. I don't have any good alcohol on that one right now. So, guys, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on a choice of drink. You're so confident you're buying everybody around. So I'll have a beer. Oh, like you're like me. You needed a shot after you made that boneheaded move.
Well,
and I didn't plug it.
Mark's going to get tickets for Game 3 for the Rangers and the Hurricanes, but he's actually only going to get tickets to the Carolina Panthers home opener in the fall instead. He's going to be...
Oh no, that would be. I think that's even worse. I don't even think they're in the right Carolina either. That would be a new low.
What do you mean?
Guys,
they both play in North Carolina.
Oh, they do? All right. I thought it was separate. Well, you got the Charlotte Bobcats or the Charlotte Hornets, whatever the hell they're called now.
You thought the Hurricanes played in South Carolina?
No, I know the Hurricanes are in Raleigh. I know that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know where the Panthers are.
Yeah, so. I was saying that Mark would have went to the Northlands Coliseum, which doesn't really exist anymore. So
could have been worse. Could have gone to Hartford. So, guys, don't forget, Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. Quick one for the New York Rangers before we get into the rest of the league, guys. One thing we did not look too much at in the playoff breakdown: Peter Laviolette, 82 playoff wins. He has a 519 winning percentage. Rod Brindamore, 36 playoff wins and a 529% winning percentage. So, guys, the Rangers have the coaching advantage with Peter Laviolette.
Hurricanes have the coaching advantage?
Yeah, that's why I had to correct it.
And he put an extra S in Rangers. Rangers.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, man, Mark.
All right. Well, the Rangers have it. This is getting more viewers. I can't believe this one. Twitter is shooting up right now.
Laviolette's the coach of the Hurricanes.
Wow. All right. So, but again. So, Anthony, you don't have much time. So, how about Rod? Who's got the advantage? Is it the Rangers?
Oh my God. No, I think this is a push. I mean, I think Rod Brindamore is one of the best coaches in the NHL, but so is Laviolette. I can't. I think it's not. I think it's even. And while we're on the topic, there was a report earlier that the Hurricanes pulled their offer to Rod Brindamore, which is just lunacy because. I think if Brindamore were to leave next year, I think that would take away a big part of the Hurricanes game because I don't know if the same coach is going to have them play the same way they do right now. So, but no, I think it's even. They're both fantastic coaches. I don't think you could definitively say that one has the leg up on the other.
Milk, do the Rangers have the coaching advantage?
I'm going to say Pierre because I think they do. Laviolette's a proven Stanley Cup winner. He's also one of handful.
I got to run, gentlemen.
All right,
Anthony, take it easy. And by the way, thanks for spoiling the next topic.
Good job.
All right.
Good job. Yeah, I would say it's a beer because I think Laviolette is one of a handful of coaches that has gone to 3 Stanley Cup finals with 3 different teams and has won at least one time. Brendan Moore hasn't done that. Laviolette's got far more experience in playoffs. I'm not taking anything away from Brendan Moore. I think Brendan Moore is good. I just don't think that I think Laviolette is the better coach. Brendan Moore hasn't been able to make adjustments to teams who can figure out how to beat that system. That's another thing for me. And I think Laviolette is going to be able to make the adjustment from having all that time and space with Washington to having no time and space with Carolina. So I think he's going to be okay. And I do think there is an advantage. I don't think it's a substantial one, but I would say beer.
Well, I gave away my answer right there. I'm actually going to go round on it, and I'm not saying it to at all insult Rod Brind'Amour, one of the best coaches in the NHL. And I just think Laviolette's experience, and I brought this up the entire time, when he was with Carolina, 0-2, and with the President's Trophy. They went down 0-2. They went to Montreal to even the series. They won that series. Let's go to 2010 with the Philadelphia Flyers. They went down 0-3, and then they made it to Game 7. They go down 0-3 in Game 3-0 in Game 7, whichever one you want to call it. And then they end up winning Game 7. You look at his experience with Nashville, being the underdog and stuff like that. This guy knows how to coach, and he always makes the most of his opportunities. It'll be, I think that's the thing that I'm going to see if it holds up in this series. If Rod Brind'Amour wins this series, that could be the series that finally puts Rod Brind'Amour over the top, getting the monkey off of his back, perhaps. So we'll see about that. Because, by the way, Philk, Anthony did spoil it, and let's go right to it. Darren Dreger saying Rod Brind'Amour's future in Carolina is up in the air. Rod Brind'Amour deserves a contract extension now.
I'm going to go beer. The only reason why I'm not going to say round is because depending on what happens with this team, I mean, this is the best team that Brind'Amour's had. If he doesn't get the job done, then maybe Carolina might look to go in another direction with a different coach. And I know it's weird saying that considering how good they've been under his tenure. And I don't see them letting him go, but maybe it's something that they would explore at the very least. I don't think they're going to get a better head coach, and that's why I ultimately don't think it happens. But I think if they don't get it done, it may be something that they may try to explore.
I'm going to go with a round on this one. Philk, look, there's coaches that they just lose the room. Bruce Cassidy lost the room last year. Or 2 years ago, I should say, and he with the Bruins, and you knew that was a fact. They were still able to be successful. This is a guy that got him to a Stanley Cup Finals, and he was still a pretty good coach. He moved on to the Vegas Golden Knights, won his first Stanley Cup, went to his second Stanley Cup Finals. A coach that brought 2 different teams to the Stanley Cup Finals, joining a lot of coaches recently, like Alain Vigneault, who did it with Vancouver and the Rangers. But as Joe Graves is saying right there, who are they going to get that's better? And Mike Sullivan.
That's one guy that would be available if he gets let go by Pittsburgh.
I don't think he's gonna. I think he's in there for the long term. So
I don't know about that. With everything that's going on in Pittsburgh, nothing is really for sure right now.
But it still appears that Brind'Amour has the room.
An option is if Craig Berube's an option. I mean, he is a Stanley Cup winner. You got to remember that.
Let me ask you this question. You know where I think Craig Berube ends up? Toronto Maple Leafs.
That would be interesting. That would change a lot of things around with them. But again, they would have to overhaul that team, and that would tell me that they're probably interested in moving one of those big 4 guys.
I do think there is going to be an overhaul with them. And you know what, Phil? Staying with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matthew Knies scored with 2:26 into overtime to keep the Leafs alive. They played a tight checking game. They won 2-1. especially after that dismal Game 4. Phil, they're going to force Game 7.
Oh, I think my prediction was Leafs in 7. So I'm going to go with I want to say beer just because I'm not sure about this team. I think Boston's going to definitely come back strong after losing that game. But, I mean, this is a series now. If all the Leafs have to do is just win 2 more. And you take it game by game. And it's not impossible to win 2 games in a row. So I'm going to go beer here. But my prediction was Leafs in 7, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I think that I'm going to stick with that.
Phil, this is so tough to say. This really is. I mean, they blew a 3-1 series lead last year, the Bruins. Are they going to do it 2 years in a row? And it's to the Leafs. It's not to the Panthers. The Panthers are a much harder team to play against. And you know what, Phil? I think the other thing is, I think Toronto is going to get complacent. And maybe, as I think one of the comments just now was, the atmosphere in Toronto is going to be more of, you guys are going to do this. You're going to force Game 7. And that might work against the Leafs because I can't put a finger on this team. And certainly Mitch Marner, you know what? How about this, Mitch Marner? Show up. Because
yeah, he has not been good.
If he doesn't, I actually don't know. I don't know what's happening with him next year. Phil, here's one for you. Alex Carrier scored the Game 6 winner last night. Sorry, the Game 5 winner to force Game 6. This one's a little bit different. Nashville is going to win this series.
I think I had Nashville upsetting Vancouver as well, and I think it's going to happen. I'm a little more confident about this one than I am about Toronto, so I'm going to go around here. I just think that Vancouver's goaltending is not good enough right now. It's simply not. And I think that Saros knows it. I think Nashville knows it. And having a former Conn Smythe winner like Ryan O'Reilly on your team to help stifle guys like Elias Pettersson, who has not looked good in his playoffs so far. Quinn Hughes has not looked amazing. I mean, Brock Besser had that hat trick. I don't think that's happening again either. I'm going with Nashville. I like some of the guys that they got. Their core guys are very experienced. Roman Josi, Ryan McDonough, Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg. They've all been to the finals, these guys. I mean, these are all guys that have been there. Vancouver really doesn't have the guys that have been there. JT Miller. And actually, we got to stop right now because we have a special guest coming on.
Yes, we do. We have a special guest coming on right now. We got Jonny Lazarus, NHL analyst, who is joining us right now. Johnny, how you doing?
I was just popping in early, boys. I didn't know you were going to bring me in right away.
We don't like to keep you waiting.
No, you're good. You're good. I didn't want to show up late and be late to the conversation, so I was just kind of popping in to make sure everything was working okay. But I see you guys got a segment going on here. What is it? Beer round by?
Oh yeah. This is what we call Bar Talk. And if we give you a topic, and then we say you gauge your confidence on whether or not you're buying around, you'll take a beer that's more so-so. Or, oh dear God, I need a shot. So,
okay, I like it.
What do you think? Nashville versus Vancouver. What, they're going to win the series?
Who?
Nashville. Sorry.
I had Vancouver in 7 originally. Obviously, it's tough when Demko gets knocked out of the series, but listen, the Canucks. It's been such a weird one, right? Like their offense is so elite when they're going, but they haven't been going. And Nashville's done a really good job blocking shots. Like, every joke you can make is that the Predators are, walking on one leg right now, and they're in game 6 of the first round. So, I give the Predators credit. They played a great game last night. Saros was insane, but the Canucks had their chances. But with this going back to Nashville and the way they lost those 2 games in Nashville, I think this one's going 7. And to me, out of every playoff first round matchup, I said this one's the coin flip. Like, I had no idea which way it's going to go. That's why I said Vancouver in 7. Like, you couldn't really tell with this one. But I still think, like, say what you want. I know you guys are talking about the Canucks goaltending, but Shelofs, however you say it, I think that's how you say it. He's been pretty good in the last 2 games. To me, that first goal that the Preds scored last night, like kind of interference. I was surprised that wasn't reviewed. Nyquist comes in and like knocks his body into the puck. I'm sitting there like, maybe challenge this, right? Like, why not? What do you have to lose? It's a tie game.
Especially after the Tampa Bay, Florida.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, why not? But I don't know. It's been pretty even for the most part. There's been moments where Vancouver looks like the Canucks team we watched all year. And there's been moments where Nashville looks like that grit and grind, team that can muck it up in the playoffs. So, the Canucks haven't had playoff experience in, 9 years, unless you count the bubble, which I don't really do. And I think Nashville could come back and take this thing, even though I said Vancouver in 7.
Yeah, I actually said Nashville in 6 originally because I figured their experience was going to be the factor. And the loss of Thatcher Demko is a huge factor for me too. So yeah, I'd be buying around on this one.
Yeah, I'll buy that from me.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Let's split it.
Hey, you want to do one more of these topics before we start asking you questions about the upcoming Rangers Carolina series?
I'm good for whatever, guys. I got plenty of time, so whatever you need.
All right. Well, then here we go. Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets, .870 save percentage, .523 goals against in the series versus Colorado. Connor Hellebuck is the most disappointing player from this playoff season so far. Johnny, what do you think?
Wow. My mind went right to Ovechkin too. That's just like also, that's kind of like home bias. You watch Ovechkin for 4 games. Like I missed most of game 1, but in that series, just because I was coming home from the Ranger game. But Hellebuck to me, like I say it's Ovechkin because what Hellebuck was going up against, a lot of that also has to do with the guys in front of him. Where Ovechkin, I think the Capitals power play, like, that's a guy who we've watched for 19 years now, 20 years, whatever it is, dominate on the power play, and the Rangers took everything away from him. I think Hellebuck's team could have done a better job in front of him, so I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say Ovechkin over Hellebuck. So I guess I'm taking a shot on this one. Would that be it?
Yep, you're taking a shot on that one. Yeah,
right.
There it is, right there. That's when the shot's angry.
Yeah.
Phil.
At least Ovi's old.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's Ovechkin's old. We've seen Ovechkin at his best, and we know that he's well past his prime. And the season he had was just a massive, massive downstep from the year before and the year before that. So it's kind of like wondering, like, how much gas does he actually have left in the tank?
Yeah.
Hellebuck is probably going to win the Vezina. I think we could probably all agree on that. I'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that I think has a legitimate shot of taking that away from him. With that said, when you look at Hellebuck's defense corps in front of him, does that look like a real good unit on paper to you? Because to me, it's not impressive. And
so are you siding with me or are you disagreeing with me here? I feel like you're siding with me.
No, I'm gonna go with Hellebuck, which has to be the most disappointing player. I got to buy around on this.
There you go.
Winnipeg, first in the league in goals against, and fewest goals allowed. And then they just have that game 1 where it's shootout at OK Corral. Like that, you talked about coin flips, Johnny. That was my coin flip. I said Winnipeg in 7 because I thought their defense would stifle Colorado eventually. But nope. I was so wrong on that. I couldn't have been more wrong. So I'm gonna go for sure for Hellebuck. I'm buying around on this. Mitch Marner would probably be my honorable mention behind Ovechkin.
I'm so torn. I really am, and I think I am gonna go. It's got to be Connor Hellebuck. I don't want to kill the guy. I love Connor Hellebuck, but I gotta. He was my number 1 reason that I thought that they were going to win the series. I said Winnipeg in 6 because how is it you have worse numbers than Alexander Georgiev in that series? It's like 886 was a save percentage, I believe, and Hellebuck was worse than that. And Winnipeg gave up the fewest amount of goals, or one of the fewest in the regular season, and then just come playoff time, they were covering the over every single night. I'm just a little bit flabbergasted at the moment. And I guess one more to say that John Cooper was disappointed in the goal review. That was I'll flash it up in 1 second with I forgot Anthony Cirelli. There we go. John Cooper should have won the challenge.
I mean, I was very outspoken about that. I thought that was the most ridiculous goal interference call of my life. Like, listen, it's hard to get to the net front. It's also, it's been said in the past, goalies have to fight for position. Bobrovsky's not even like looking around trying to find the puck. I don't think Cirelli's foot and Bobrovsky's foot touching had anything to do with the way that Bobrovsky saw the puck and his line of vision. Like, that puck was going in regardless. And to me, that's why I think it should be a good goal, because whether Cirelli's foot, it seems like it lightens up as opposed to gets heavier. They're so much more sensitive around the goaltenders in the playoffs, where it feels like everything's the opposite direction. So that's why I don't get it. Cirelli didn't really make a ton of contact with him. I think that was BS that they took that one off the board.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one right away before I turn it over to Phil, because come on. I don't even think he made contact with him. I understand he went through the crease.
The feet were touching. That's what people were saying. And Cirelli's foot was in the blue paint. Like, it's whatever. It's
no contact lead? Is that what
I mean, go ahead, Phil.
I think he should have won both of them. I thought the Duclair one was also egregious. How do you call that when, one, Duclair is outside of the crease? Two,
no, he was in it.
For a little bit, yes.
Yeah. But that one, the arm, though, like Bobrovsky's arm was caught with the leg. I didn't love it either, but that one I could at least see it.
Okay. I mean, I can understand that, but at the same time, so as the play as it happens, as it progresses, is that the puck is there, the skate is there. Now, by the time that Bobrovsky is going to reach for that puck with his glove, the puck is well out of the crease, and the skate is also out of the crease. So Duclair is also being hooked and held by Ekman Larson, I believe it was. Or no, Forsling, sorry. It was Forsling. And how Duclair has a right to that ice. So why are we calling something that Bobrovsky initiated? Bobrovsky was grabbing onto his skate. How, at that point, if he was being hooked, if that hand was being hooked by that skate, release the hand, and then go back and get it and make a dive forward for it. He didn't do that. I just think there's not enough effort to make the saves. It's kind of like icing, like how players stop and slow up to try to milk icings out. I think goaltenders are doing the same thing to try to get these goaltender interference calls, and the referees are playing right into it. And I think it's a problem. Yeah. I mean, for a league that turns around and says that they want to promote more goals, then why are you taking goals off the board in this type of fashion? To me, I don't get it.
Johnny, we'll turn over to the series that's going to be coming up, the Rangers versus Carolina Hurricanes. How exactly are you looking at the series, and how do you see it?
Well, it's two evenly matched teams for the most part. I know everyone's going to talk about the difference and the X factors and all those conversations that we're all having, right? Everyone's having them. But to me, the 5-on-5, if you're a Ranger fan, which everyone here is, right? I know there is an Islander fan on the show.
Yeah,
I understand.
He should be coming back to join us soon enough.
Okay. You can expect the Rangers to probably be the worst of the two at the 5-on-5 play, right? Carolina will probably be the better team at 5-on-5, but the power play for the Rangers is probably going to be the difference maker in this series. And you look at Carolina, and if you want to have the X factor conversation, for the Rangers, who are the X factors 2 years ago when they won that series? Kid line, right? The third line. Filipino, Capo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere. When Panarin's not producing, when Zibanejad and Kreider and Vetrano at the time are slowed down a little bit, you need the third line, you need the fourth line to score some goals. That's what happened in the Washington series with Barclay Goodrow, Jimmy Vesey, Matt Rempe chips in for one, Capo Caco scores the first goal in Game 4. When those guys, the big guns, the top-heavy guys, aren't doing it, who's going to do it? The Hurricanes have gotten it from guys like Stefan Nason, scored 3 goals in the first round against the Islanders. I think a game winner, a game tire, and And the tap in last night, that's a guy on the fourth line who gets power play minutes, who steps up because Jesper Fast isn't in the lineup. He's done for the playoffs. That's a big loss for Carolina that no one's really talking about. A former Ranger. I'm surprised that hasn't come up much yet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be the difference, right? It's going to be the third line, the fourth line, and who gets production, because we know what Svechnikov is going to do. He's a difference maker too. He's an X factor. He hasn't been healthy in a playoff run for the Hurricanes in quite some time. He's always hurt. So that's a big addition for them, as well as Gensel and Kuznetsov. But you know what you're going to expect from Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin. You know what you're going to get from Aho, Svechnikov, and probably Jake Gensel. So who are going to be the guys that score goals when those guys aren't doing it? I think the Rangers have the edge in goal. I think the Rangers have the edge in special teams. It's the 5-on-5, that third, fourth line, who are going to be the guys that can put a puck in the net. That's going to be the difference. I don't expect any game to have like a 4-3, 5-4. It's going to be like 2-1, 3-2 every game, it feels like, right? Like that's got to be what we're all thinking here.
Yeah.
I think there might be like an offensive game that's sprinkled in there, but I'm expecting a low scoring series. The Rangers, I think, want to keep it low scoring.
Yeah. Also, the one thing too, Freddie Anderson has not been healthy in previous postseasons. Like, I think he played 3 games in a row for the first time since last year's playoffs. That was the first time he had 3 consecutive starts in the Islander series. So the Rangers got to do whatever they can to make his life hell too. So we'll see.
Well, you were talking about somebody who I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
You mentioned Filipino. And reports have come out today from Vince, Molly, others, that he was rotated around the lines. I heard he took reps on first line right wing with Kreider and Zibanejad.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see, well, one, when do you see him coming back? And 2, where do you see Laviolette putting him?
Well, he's been doing that now for like 2 weeks also. He's been in like the small area games, he's been filling in for a little bit, but in the line rush stuff, he hasn't been filling in. And I'll be there tomorrow and Friday too. So, but like, again, Laviolette's not answering questions about it. Heedle's not even available to the media right now either. So there's like no conversations really about it to hear from him directly. But I said on my show the other day, if you're going to put him in, you got to put him in game 1, I think, right? Like, you don't want to throw him into the fire in a game 3 or game 4 if they're down and have it be his first game since November 2nd. Like, I'm not an NHL coach, but I would just think that's kind of, it seems like if you can do it now, do it now. But again, like a guy like Mikhail Sergachev in Tampa snaps his leg in half 60 days ago, comes into game 4, they're down 3-0, and he has somewhat of an impact, But if I'm slotting Heedle in, just to answer the question, I would think you move Wenberg down to the fourth line center position, keep VZ and Gaudreau, and I think you're taking Rempe out. And it sucks because I'm a Rempe supporter, but it's not the matchup where it's going to be so physical. This is going to be tight checking and fast. So you need your fastest lineup. And to me, Heedle makes this team much faster than Rempe does. I think if you're playing Boston or Florida, Rempe definitely needs to be in there. Those are 2 very physical teams. It's different kind of game, different kind of matchup. But with Carolina, I would actually, if there's a way to bet this, I would say the Rangers have less than 10 odd man rushes the entire series. Carolina always has F3 back. They're always checking above the puck. One of the things Matt Barzal said, I covered game 3 and games 4 of the Islander Hurricane series. So I got to watch them, pretty closely the last week or so. And Matt Barzal said it, multiple times. This is the tightest checking series I've ever been involved in. And that's one of the fastest players in the NHL up and down the ice. So if he's saying it, says a lot about, what's to come. So we'll see. But, I would say Heedle, third line center. Roslovic needs to be up there. He's a fast skater. He's a guy that, will push the Carolina defenseman back. And, Heedle, Kakko, Cooley sounds fine to me.
Yeah, I like that.
I agree with you on that one wholeheartedly. And also Wenberg, Gaudreau, and VZ also sound pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because just extending the Filipino talk for a minute, he's been one of the Rangers' best postseason even strength scorers. Him and Kreider are tied for the most even strength goals since 2022, and it's some. I think it's a temptation of a lot of fans or anything to look and think he should go replace Roslovic on the first line.
Yeah,
but
well, I mean, I said it yesterday. Imagine just game 1. Joe Tolson starting at center, number 72. Philip, like Madison Square Garden would go. I can't curse on here.
Bonkers.
Yeah,
they
go ahead.
nuts.
Bonkers.
They go fucking nuts if they announce Heedle as a starter for game one. Like, just for that, it'd be unreal. But again, like, I am Team Rempe. I think he's so effective. I think he's so impactful. And I quite frankly I think the kid's presence is amazing. And I hope to see him play. But when you're talking about Carolina, you're talking about speed. And they need to put the fastest lineup they can together.
Just one last part of it, because when people talk about Heedle, they're always asking about his health. Mm-hmm. Is that at all a question right now?
I'm not the guy to ask. I'm no doctor.
Right.
But I thankfully, knock on wood, I've never really had to deal with concussions, so I can't really speak to what he's going through. I don't know.
I've had one, and that's really about it.
So
thankfully.
Yeah, it's tough to say. But I see this comment right here. My right nut.
That's actually so funny enough. That's actually that's the guy that actually sparked the conversation.
Okay, that's funny.
Here. Yeah,
I was like reading it and I was like, oh, that's what that says. But I would love, and I'm surprised MSG hasn't really done this, but like, I think it's obviously not the Stanley Cup final or anything, but I remember when I was a kid and Nathan Horton got lit up in game 3 in the Boston-Vancouver series. And like
that was Aaron Rome, I think.
Aaron Rome, game 4, they panned to Horton and he's waving the towel on Boston Garden, getting the fans going. If the Rangers at the Garden like had a camera on Heedle doing the towel wave or something, if he's not playing, like, that's something too that would be pretty cool to see. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for the cheesy stuff too. I love all the dramatics that go into the playoffs.
No, you know what? I'll make this quick because I want to get more from you. And but I went to Game 6 against Montreal in 2014, and
no way. In Montreal,
electric. No. The at MSG.
I was thinking.
Yeah, the clincher to go to the finals, and one of the things that was just awesome, and I'll never forget this, was Alexei Kovalov shows up. And he stands up and he's wearing like a black and beige Columbia ski jacket. And he gets this amazing ovation. They go back to him a little later in the game and he stands up, rips the jacket off, and he has a 94 Stanley Cup final.
No way.
MSG, I swear to God, Johnny, that building shook to its core. And shortly after that, Dominic Moore scored the goal that put them ahead and they won that game.
That's awesome. It's so funny when that stuff happens. Like Derek Brassard and Kevin Klein got a standing ovation like last round. Like it's
crazy. It's awesome. It really is. So I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Phil, you have the question because I took the last one.
So we were talking about Rempe, and now with that, I mean, the big concern with Rempe is speed. And, you were talking about how Carolina likes to push the pace and go forward and really kind of, suffocate you in your own zone. Can you see Rempe becoming a black ace type player where they kind of insert him in and out of the lineup in the event that they feel that they need a change of pace?
In this series?
Yes.
Well, I think he's playing game 1. I don't think if you were to see any lineup changes, you probably would have saw them today. And, Laviolette, and I'd say, a lot of old school coaches and styles and stuff, you don't really see a winning lineup change. The Rangers just won 4 straight games. Like, why would you fix what's not broken? I don't care who the opponent was. You won 4 straight. But the one concern with Rempe is, I think in game 4, he doesn't even see a shift in the third period. Mm-hmm. So in those games, depending on, like, we might see a really wild game 1 and, it could be like a tryout for him. It could be, let's see what this kid can do in the first game. If we lose game 1, it's not the end of the world, but if he's impactful, great. If he's not, we have options, So I think that's a smart move to play him in game 1, just to know the weapon that you have, right? Because the games that he didn't play, and this is something that Mike Rupp, him and I talk about a lot because he's a big Rempe guy too. The Rangers have a weapon in Matt Rempe that they need to still learn how to use it, right? Like, It's a game changer. It is a distraction to the other team. Like after that hit on Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Tom Wilson's focus in that game was not winning the game. It was Matt Rempe, So I think having that against a team like Carolina where, listen, like nobody likes getting hit, right? Like I don't care who you are. Nobody likes getting hit. So if you can throw off a guy on Carolina, like Aho, like Svechnikov, like these guys, let him be the distraction, right? Like why not? So yeah. And that hit on Trevor Van Riemsdyk was clean as shit, in my opinion. I had Capitals fans coming at me the whole night. And when he came out and said that quote, nothing made me happier than dunking on people. But I think that's actually so funny because the kid who chirped me and told me that I'm losing credibility for being a homer just sent me an email. He sent me an email. That's hilarious.
You know what's funny? I was gonna. I don't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say that I went and apologized to Boiler for.
Oh, I saw that.
This whole.
That's how this started, right? With Brian, the clip.
Yes. This whole thing, Johnny coming on, started because I quote tweeted his quote from Boiler about how Rempe has had an impact on the team, and like someone like Lafreniere has been playing with more of his chest out, which I said, Mark, when we brought in Ryan Reeves a couple of years ago, one of the first things I said was that Ryan Reeves is that type of player that gives that security blanket feeling where players can go and play like that because they know that they're not going to have somebody taking liberties on them the way that Tom Wilson did 3 years ago. So it's funny you brought that up with him emailing you because I tagged Boiler in that because I watched the entire clip with you and Colby talking about that, and he's absolutely right. Rempe has had that effect.
Yeah, I could have made a better caption, right? What was the caption? Like Brian Boyle, Matt Rempe's made Alexi Lafreniere better, but that was the quote. Like I was just,
that was the quote, and that's what made us all kind of go.
I didn't think that it would be taken in such a negative way that it was.
People are looking for a way to take everything literally on social media down to the T, and it gets annoying sometimes. So I was guilty of it there, and I had to throw my flowers to Boyle there because he deserved that because he was absolutely right.
1,000%. And we no one was taking anything away from Lafreniere.
You've been the biggest Lafreniere guy all season.
Ever.
Every time you post something about Lafreniere, I'm usually right there in there saying something because it's you've been the guy pumping this guy's gas all year. You've been gassing him up, and deservedly so.
Yeah, no, I see Ranger Central chirp me too about the Kane tweet I had. That one, I still don't apologize for that. That would be pretty cool. I still think from a NHL fan perspective, if you're not a Rangers fan, that is a cool moment.
Well, also you own what you say and you own your mistakes because after all, I got that when I accidentally said Justin Huberdeau one time, and I'm never going to hear the end of it.
I was tuning in when I heard you talk about buying tickets to the wrong game. That's pretty funny.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it was even kind of funnier because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take my wife, and oh no, it's the Islanders. Oh, you already bought the tickets. All right, so
did you go for that because he would have absolutely loved you chirping Mark on that.
Did you go? Did he go to the game?
Oh yeah, I went. Yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, as my fiance just said from the background, I was wasting money I should be spending on our wedding coming up in 6 months. I do want to say this one observation. I do think that the size of Rempe, I think a lot of refs are just confused by him. They're just like, oh, okay, it looked bad, so it must have been a hit. And sometimes I think his size is just a factor in there. But, Johnny, I want to ask you this from J.E. Yeah. He wants to ask you, so throw his question out there. Johnny, do you think the man-on-man D structure of the Canes could actually prove beneficial for the Rangers by playing into their skill strengths?
You know what's funny? J.E., this was the exact question I have lined up for Laviolette tomorrow after practice. Because to me, a lot of the Islanders' success offensively in that series was when they brought their third guy high in the offensive zone. And teams sometimes now, I guess more than the last 10 years, you talk about hockey 10 years ago, it's creating offense off the cycle, right? Below the goal line, you have guys constantly moving, and that's how you create. You get the puck from low to high, you get to the net, you get traffic, get rebounds, blah, blah, blah. Now, with the way that NHL defensemen are able to skate and the skill set they have, you see guys like Panarin coming out to the high slot in the top of the zone, and being interchangeable with defensemen, throwing a drop pass like a guy like Keandre Miller or Adam Fox. And now there's 3 guys at the top of the zone that are cycling, looking to go downhill and get pucks in the net. And then you have speed going to the net for a rebound. When you're playing man on man and you can do that at the top of the zone, it fucks everyone up in the defensive zone. Like, it really does. So, when you have the lines like Lafreniere, Trocheck, Panarin, or Zibanejad, Roslovic, Kreider, not as much Kreider, because you really see Kreider at the top of the zone making plays. He's normally at the front of the net. But, Mika and Roslovic are able to do that. And Roslovic's cutbacks are able to create separation against a team like Carolina. So I think the man-on-man in the D zone against a team like the Rangers with so much offensive skill, it's going to bite them in the ass, especially if they couldn't even handle the Islanders when they were doing that. Because you look at the mobile defenseman on the Islanders, it's really just like Noah Dobson, right? Like, he's the only offensive threat. That's it. So, you'd have to think a guy like Keandre is going to thrive in this series. A guy like Fox is going to thrive in this series. Maybe even Eric Gustafsson. But, I think as far as 5-on-5, that is the one edge the Rangers have, is that Carolina does play a man-on-man. So if they're able to do that, constant cycling at the top of the zone, it's going to pay off in the long run, I would think.
You know what's funny? You brought up Gustafsson, and I know it's not going to happen, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
What do you think of? Would you bring in somebody like Jones, who looked great in his 2 games against Carolina? And the other thing you talked about is talking about quick breakouts against them, having that first pass be clean. The puck support's obviously paramount on getting that puck out of the zone. Zach Jones in those 2 games was excellent at avoiding forecheck pressure and getting the puck out of the zone. And I feel like he could be a big-time difference maker on that third pairing with Trouba in this series, because we all know Trouba's not the fastest skater. He's probably the slowest skater in the entire series. Maybe Jordan Stahl might be a little slower than him.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think it's Trouba for sure.
I gotta say, it looks close though at times when
Stahl's at least got the reach though. He's a big, big
that's
body.
the thing. Stahl's got huge. His 747 wingspan reach. But I feel like Jones, if you were to get him in there and Laviolette were to give him a chance, I feel like this is where he would really thrive and give them an extra edge over Carolina in that regard. Would you agree? Or
I'm a Zach Jones guy. He's a UMass guy. We didn't play together or cross over, but a lot of the same teammates, and friends in common. So he's always the first guy I go to in the locker room at practice and stuff and just say what up to. And, obviously a guy like him right now who found his confidence this year, right? He was there, he got it. I feel for him because I think he knows he should be playing. It's tough to say you got to take someone out right now and they sweep in the first round, right? It's not easy, but a guy like Zach Jones, to me, he's smart. He makes the simple decision. I think he'd be effective for sure. With Trouba, and I know there was a question too about Trouba's foot speed being a worry in this series. What Trouba does, the fact that he is a punching bag, I guess, on Twitter by a lot of people, right? Like he is, that guy, I don't know where he finished. He might've been first. He might've been second or third. He puts his body in front of everything, he blocks every shot. He is standing in front of Ovechkin's slap shot fearlessly. And he's a guy in a 1 goal game in the last 2 minutes against Carolina. He's doing whatever he can to block that shot. He is. And, for the things he lacks, like foot speed, he makes up for, I think, in toughness. And not everyone is the perfect player, right? So you got to take some negatives with the positives. And to me, Trouba's physicality and his fearlessness have always outweighed the negatives. If he was the number 1 defenseman, it'd be different, but Fox has stepped up in the last 3 years and become that number 1 offensive guy. Trouba's not an $8 million number 1 that we signed him for, but he's still to me incredibly impactful and effective. Better, but it's take the negative with the positive, right?
Absolutely. And you're with them. So
not always, just
not always, but you're around them. You're around them enough to know this. How big a deal was it for Trouba to take that demotion, and how was it around that locker room when all of that happened? Because that could be a moment where a team's either divided or they galvanize from it and they come together.
I mean, I don't even think it was a thought. The kind of guy Jacob Trouba is if this move is better for the New York Rangers, then so be it. Like, it's not, and it's hard to argue against, right? Like, the games he was out, they were playing well. It's not like the team was playing so magnificent with what we were seeing that the change was out of nowhere, right? A change was needed. And, he's not playing power play anyway, so it's not like he was taken off the power play. And he's still out there, in a tight game in the last few minutes. Like, it's not like it's you're parking your ass on the bench here and you're going to watch as we try to fight for a win. Like, in the times of need, he's still out there. So listen, Laviolette's so great about that. I think, as far as doing whatever he can to get everybody involved. You see him double shift Panarin from time to time. He's got 2 centers out there, for the majority of the game on defensive zone draws. He actually does. I got to ask him. He must be a lacrosse guy, because the amount of guys that do the FOGO, the face off, get off thing, I haven't seen that much in hockey. And I think it's been something that he's done a lot this year, but it's tough because you only talk to Laviolette in like a podium form. So you can't really talk to him as like a guy to guy conversation. And you only get, like 8 to 10 minutes every day. So when you get a chance to ask a question, you're not going to, there's times where you can keep it light and ask that kind of stuff. But like, if I were to go in there and be like, do you watch lacrosse? Everyone would look at me like I'm a fucking idiot. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, I forgot what the initial question even was, but I'll just stop talking.
How Trouba took the demotion.
There you go.
Johnny.
Yeah.
I got to look at 2 of the guys that probably were under microscopes for different reasons this season. Artemi Panarin, who struggled in the playoffs and had that monster season. In my opinion, he should get more recognition for the MVP than what he's getting right now.
Yeah.
And Mika Zibanejad, who kind of underperformed a little bit. Yeah, a lot of people would say, especially at 5-on-5. I wrote about that a couple months ago. How important was it that Panarin got 2 game winners? Didn't really have this big point production, but both of them were game winners. That's a huge thing. And the eye test shows he was playing phenomenal in that first series. But then you get Zibanejad, who had 7 points, who was taking out passing lanes, and he's kind of a slow starter notoriously, and he got off to the fast start.
Well, I think this one's tough because Zibanejad, to me, and listen, I am not shy to admit it. I try to read everything on Twitter from Ranger fans. I try to get all sides. I try to understand everyone's reasoning for everything. The Mika Zibanejad was invisible at 5-on-5 crowd. I cannot get behind that. Like, the little things this guy does, defensively, face-offs, PK, even if he's not the one scoring on the power play, him being out there is still a threat, which opens up other players. Like, people don't really understand that. Mika's one-timer is just like Ovechkin. You got a guy who's out there killing a penalty that's only worried about him. And what does that do? It creates a 4-on-3 for everyone else. So there's little things that go into it that, and I'm not going to sit here and discredit the casual Ranger fan, right? Like, but what Mika Zibanejad is able to do all over the ice, like he flies. Like, he is such an incredible skater that I don't think he gets enough credit for. And there are times, sure, where you'd like him to shoot the puck more. I think there was Mike Kelly had the stat. It was like 8, maybe like 1 out of 12 2-on-1s he shot or something, and it led to a goal. Some crazy stat like that. So you'd like to see him be a little bit more selfish, but seeing him produce in the first round, seeing Panarin produce in the first round, yeah, it's great, it's awesome. But guess what? They don't come out and do it in game 1, game 2 in Carolina. No one gives a shit, right? Like, no one cares. No. It's good for the confidence, and it's good to take that monkey off your back, because Panarin didn't score in the playoffs last year. But going forward, like, it's not going to be, well, they scored in the first round, so it's okay if they don't contribute here in the second round. No one thinks that way. So it's great now, but if they struggle in the second round, that's what the story is going to be. So we'll see.
I mean, elite scorers in scoring, they're kind of like your driver on the golf course.
Yeah.
Once you pipe one down, then you're ready to then you start piping them down every single hole right down the middle of the fairway.
Can I address one thing quick? I just saw that comment again from my right nut, who I like interacting on this show. This is but this comment right here. He's brought in for offenses, making $8.5 million average annual value. Did the team come in third place in the Met? Team fucking won hockey games. They won the President's Trophy. I don't care if you're not scoring. The business is to win. It's a results-based business. If the Rangers were in the wild card position and Mika's not scoring, yes, get on the guy. They won 54 games? 55? What was the tally? 55? Like, get off the guy's ass. They win. They win games. So that's all I'll say about that. Like, that's what bothers me is that, and this guy, Ethan, and I wish the Islander, what's his name? The Islander fan on the show?
Oh, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony, yeah.
I wish Anthony was here because I love this guy, Ethan, like GSN. He's an Islander fan that I always interact with on Twitter.
Yeah.
He always like has like a quote tweet like Ranger fans will be complaining about something on Twitter and I'll go check the score and they're winning 2-0. You know, it's like that's what we're doing here, right? Like we're finding a complaint, but we're winning games. So what the hell are we talking about?
And just to say this too, I'll use the metaphor for pitchers. Do you want a guy that's going to throw 100 miles an hour dead straight over the plate, or a guy that could throw it on the black with some movement? Zibanejad didn't produce as well, but we had still turned in a pretty good season.
Reminds me of the Rick Nash dish scores from the 2014 playoffs. Like, no, you're paid $7.85 million to score 40 goals, and he wasn't doing it. But if you watched him in 5v5, it was all the offense was going through him.
Yeah,
and he was super productive, and it's a shame. So, I mean, I get it. I was hard on Zibanejad throughout the season. I think they needed a little more from him offensively, but you're right. They were winning games. And that's really what it comes down to. So, yeah. I am a little guilty of that. I will totally take accountability.
It's fair. That's what sports are all about, right? Like it's passion. But again, like I just don't like the people that like I was always a ride or die fan. Like, and I think there are a lot of fans that when shit is going wrong, you're quick to, get on them. But honestly, like a story I'll tell, we had Keith Yandel on our morning show today, Morning Cup of Hockey, and
great interview, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And the first thing we talked about with Keith when he came on was, man, Leafs fans are hard on their guys and it affects them. They've lost 6 straight games at home in the playoffs. What, you think that's a coincidence? No. They hear it, they know it. And Rangers, the players hear it, they know it. Like the players see everything. You know how many players have burner accounts? They could be a player watching this right now. But it's it's something that I think we get lost in. Like, I definitely used to tweet thinking no one is seeing this. Like my opinion doesn't mean shit. Not that I'm, saying it does now, but like people see stuff and it can affect players mentally. And I think when you have a team that's as special as this team is right now, and that's why like the Panarin MVP thing, like I was like, cheer MVP. Like this doesn't happen every year. You gotta just be supportive of your guys, especially when they're playing well. Because in New York, we know when shit hits the fan, we run them out of town. So
It's so funny you said that, because this comment from Ranger Central right here. Can we push for the MVP chance to be back again? And you're disappointed that it only lasted. And you're right. And I remember seeing you push for those chances.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if he liked it though, to be honest. I don't know if he liked it. I asked him about it after the game, and he's like, he smiled and then just said like no comment. I don't know. So I don't know if he was like, I don't know if he was comfortable with it or not. So maybe we'll let that one slide. Maybe we shouldn't do it. Yeah.
No, but Johnny, we don't want to keep you too long. You've been on with us for
honestly. I got another 10 if you need. I'm having fun. So
that's your call. If you want to stay on, I didn't want to take too much of your time, but if you want to stay on for another 10, let's keep it going then.
I got a roller hockey game at 9:30, so I got to head out here in like 20-30 minutes, eat a little food. But I got 10 more.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go 10 more.
Nice. I love
good stuff. I need the Islander guy in here. I want to shit on him a little bit.
Yeah. We told Anthony to come back. He's got family obligations, but we told him to come back. But I don't know if he's going to be able to. But I love the fact that you're also a roller hockey guy. I'm a big roller hockey guy.
Where are you guys, by the way?
I'm on Long Island. I'm in West Babylon.
And I'm in East Meadow.
Got it. My sister's in Comac. Parents are in Syosset. I'm in Brooklyn, but a lot of times.
Are you playing the Brooklyn League there?
I play it, in Dumbo, the outdoor rink in Dumbo. It's so sick, dude. It's unreal.
Oh, I've always wanted to
ferry
play.
over, get a nice breeze on the boat. It's great.
How is the tile on that? Because I know, like, all right, so they used to have that in Long Beach, and when the condensation starts to build up a little bit, I know that it gets slippery.
Yeah, it's not like skate safe tile. You know, skate safe in Plainview.
Absolutely, play there. Play sport time too.
It's not like that. So, like, you know, it's not what I prefer, but it's good enough. You know, it's good outdoor hockey. It's better than concrete. So I'll take it. And the views, you can't beat the views. They're so sick.
That's awesome.
And Johnny, unfortunately, since it's the playoffs, I'm growing out my beard right now, and you can see all the gray.
You got the Kreider goatee going?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Like, you know, I'm more of a chin strap guy because I get patchy over here. But I'm old enough to remember the Bethpage rink being outdoors. That's how long ago I played in that. As you were mentioning, in Syosset, I grew up in Hicksville. So
with which Bethpage rink?
The one on the Town of Oyster Bay rink that's now inside.
Was that on that
was outdoor?
That was outdoor. There was a large concrete slab that was over it, chain link fence on the outside. And I always name drop them, but one of my teammates my first year was Marty Hughes, uncle of Jack and the rest of them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Although for me, it was I would pay money to watch Timmy Karakostas, a friend of mine who ended up going to Norwich University. He's a coach now.
Oh, yeah.
I think he was a coach for Shane Gostisbehere at one point. But yeah,
Norwich is a really good program. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this right here, Johnny. Like, you were talking about Panarin before and the MVP chance and everything like that. Is that something that, like, is that vibe that you get from Panarin? Like, that he's not like overly like fond of spotlight and he just kind of wants to, you know, go about his business and not have the microscope on him? Or
I get mixed signals. You know, I think he definitely thrives in it. Like, you know, it was cool. So I asked him, and I don't know if were you guys by any chance at the last game of the season against Ottawa?
No,
I missed it.
So I don't know if the TV, I don't know if the MSG, does the MSG broadcast like show the player on the bench after they score when it's like announced in the arena? Did they do that?
Can at times.
Sometimes, not always.
So, all right. So then, damn, I guess people didn't get to see it, but when Joe Tolleson announces the goal scorer, it always pans to the player on the bench or if they're on the ice. And Panarin like saw himself on the board when they announced his 49th goal of the season. And he looked up and like gave a nod, like I got this. I got 50, you know, like he was giving that signal. And he said that in the post game. He said, like, you know, I was thriving off the fans. Like he loves it and he gets it, you know? So it's moments like that where I do think that like he loves it, but obviously no one loves having people do thrive under the pressure, right? Like people thrive in the clutch. I don't know if he loves that aspect of it, but you know, in the moments that his swagger is swagging, I guess, you know, he definitely loves it.
Johnny, one guy I can't help but look at, and I think he just needs to be the focal point of his line, or maybe even just not be with superstars. I always look at Capo Caco, and I keep on just looking at him, just thinking he's going to break out at some point, or you're just going to see some dominant game. But he's a well-rounded player, and I think fans, you get the sense that the fans are wrong about him. The fans are ready to run him out of town, being like, "Oh, we thought he was a number 1-2 pick." Or is it something in the middle on that? Like he's not a bust, but he's not the franchise player that I thought they were going to be.
I mean, he's definitely not the franchise player that we thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
And I am one. I am guilty of it. I have been very hard on Capo Caco. Probably the most critical I've been of a player in my media career. And I know he's young, and I see the comment from JE, but there's a certain confidence thing with him, and I think it's very up and down. You can tell when he's confident, you can tell when he's not. And listen, I've been, you know, I've played at the Division I level, and when my confidence is there, it feels like nothing can stop you. When the confidence is not there, you don't even want to go to the fucking rink. So, you know, I'm not gonna say I get where he's coming from in the NHL level, but like in my own experience, I've been there, and it sucks. And for him, it's got to be tough, and I feel for him because he's a guy who came into the NHL and was probably expecting the whole world in his hand, right? You know, first power play, first line, being the guy that he was as a kid. And when you are the guy growing up and then all of a sudden you're no longer the guy, you kind of have a struggle with your identity as a hockey player. And I think Kakko has still tried to figure that out this year. And he's become a very effective third liner. But it's going to be tough to find that confidence that you saw prior to him being drafted when he's not put in that position to have that confidence, if that makes sense. You know, similar to Lafreniere in the past few years. But this year, he was given it and he ran with it. So it's tough, man. It's not easy. And I think Kakko has shut me up a little bit because I said, like, if this guy's not producing points as a third liner or doing anything to stand out, he's replaceable. Like, I said that word, like, he is replaceable. And I was all for trading Kakko to Anaheim and bringing in Frank Petrano. Like, I love Frank Petrano. But Kakko has been good and he's been fine and he's done his job. And that's all that's needed. Again, the team is winning hockey games. That's all I care about.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because you talked about a player coming in and expecting to be, you know, what they're not being what they were expected to be. Mm-hmm. I just watched, I think it was either last night or the night before, I watched this documentary on Alexander Daig. And
I still have to watch that one.
On who?
On Alexander Daig.
I don't know who that is.
Alexander Daig, the first overall pick from 1993. He was anointed as the next one.
Oh wow! No, I don't even know who that is.
I gotta send that to you then.
Yeah,
it's a real
96th birth year. 96th birth year.
Yeah, no, yeah, he was.
I graduated high school then.
He's regarded.
I'm also not like people judge me for my hockey history knowledge. I'm not a fucking historian.
But. I know. I thought it was like yeah. And
I'm trying to defend myself if anyone comes at me in the chat here.
The biggest, he's the biggest bust. No, you got somebody just messing with you about the age thing, but he was one of the biggest busts ever. And it's like it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you know, is that what we're going to be with Kakko? Like the one thing I would ask, and you played at higher levels, and I'd imagine that one of the biggest things to jumping to the levels that you played at was speed and the ability to process the game and do things at a quicker pace. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Kakko could get past that by improving speed, or do you think like this is like where he's going to be?
No, listen, he's 22 years old. You're always going to get bigger, faster, stronger, right? The longer you play, and then, you know, you hit a certain age where you slow down. But to me, I don't think his like north-south skating is where it needs to be. But I don't think it's necessarily a step behind, if that makes sense, right? Like there's flashes where he looks like he gets up the ice pretty well, but it's the burning guys with speed we haven't necessarily seen yet. He burns guys with his strength and his ability to protect the puck, but you haven't seen, you know, I'm trying to think of like another player that'd be an example. Like, you know, when do you see Kakko really flying down the wall wide and cutting in and scoring a goal? It doesn't, you know, it's not really. That was kind of his game, I feel like, before he was drafted, right? And you haven't seen that in the NHL yet. But again, he's still young. So I'm not saying it can't happen. But it's definitely something that, you know, you hope for, right? So I wouldn't call him a bust. He's just figuring it out still, and he's still impactful and effective. So that's like, you know, if he sucked, it'd be a different story, you know, like. But he's still a good player on a winning team, so I have a hard time calling him a bust.
I've made the comparison of the career trajectory on the lines of Larry Nichushkin. That the Rangers.
If he can get to that, that'd be fucking amazing because he's on fire. He's on fire right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
man.
That's actually he's a big, strong guy, Valery Nichushkin. So I like that. That's I would be happy with that.
7 goals in that series.
Yeah, nuts.
Unreal.
Nuts. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. All right, give me one more good one, boys. Give me one more good one. I want one more.
One more good one? Okay. All right. I was going to say, because I know you got that team, so I don't want to keep you too long.
No, you're good. One more good one.
Ooh, man. I was going through some of these. I saw one before that I wanted to bring.
How long are you guys going for, by the way? Didn't you start this like 5:45 or something?
Yeah, 5:45. We usually started. Actually, I'll give you one from JE here. Have you had any run-ins with Drew?
I'll tell you a good one. I mean, I didn't say anything to him personally. He's in the elevator always and stuff. I just like give him a head nod. But like, we were all the media members were standing outside the Rangers locker room after the Stadium Series win, and Drury walked right by us to go in the room, and he said something to Larry Brooks, and Vince and Larry laughed. We didn't hear it, but like Vince looked over to Larry and said, "Did he just say for Toronto?" And it was pretty funny, of like a joke about like the deadline. So that was pretty funny. But Drury kind of keeps to himself. Like at practice, he's like in the two little rows of seating on the far side. You'll like walk by him and stuff. But one thing I could say actually, which was pretty badass, last year in the first round, I was standing like in the event level, like where the Devils were playing sewer before the game, like playing soccer.
Okay.
And Drury just walked right through. Like he didn't even stop to like wait for them to stop playing. He just walked right through the game. And it was unreal. It was awesome.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, I haven't had like a conversation with him or anything. But you know, it's kind of how it goes. I feel like, you know, most people don't. I mean, he has a relationship with Larry and stuff, so you see those two talking a lot. But yeah, that's really it.
Oh,
someday, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what the schedule is. I heard something about Sunday. I don't know if that's
game 1 Sunday and game 2 is Tuesday. Times are still to be determined, but it sounds like Sunday is going to be a night game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's from
everything. All right. Yeah, thank God I'm back on the ice again for Sunday night. Yay.
What time?
7:30 in Syosset.
Oh, rough.
Yeah.
You know what you got to do? I actually was playing at Skate Safe like when game 7 Penguins Senators was on, and they had like the game audio, like Doc Emmerich playing in Skate Safe. So it was
wow.
So if you're playing in Syosset, just plug a phone in and have the game audio going on Sunday. Yeah. You can listen to it while you're on the ice.
I remember all of us playing a playoff game when it was game 7 Rangers Capitals, and everybody's giving the updates like right before I went on the ice, saw Ovechkin's goal, and then we're all on the bench celebrating that we just won the game, and then you hear, Kevin Hayes just tied it. All right, great. And then we're fortunately out at the next bar for, my opinion, one of Doc's best calls ever with that Derek Stepan OT winner.
Mm-hmm. The best. So many good moments. It's awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna hop, boys. Thank you guys. Whenever you need me, I'm around. So happy to do this again. This was fun.
Perfect.
Johnny, thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Yeah, I'll tell Boiler that you apologize if he didn't. Like me, right?
We'd love to have him on too.
Yeah,
you guys
take care, Johnny. Right. Thank you.
Take care.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh wow. So I mean, probably the best Q&A ever, because Johnny answered a lot of user questions.
Johnny stayed on for a while. I can't believe how long he stayed on for. I didn't want to. I thought we were gonna get maybe like 15, 20 minutes. That was perfect. But like, you know, that's awesome. Like him, Ray Ferraro is another one who spent like, and Neil Smith all spent crazy amounts of time with us. Like I did not expect. Johnny had to be on. So he came on at 6:40. He was on for almost an hour.
Yeah. And even did a little bit of bar
That's
talk.
our longest.
Yeah.
That's our longest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Dowd. I mean, Dowd was on for a long time too.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy Dowd was on with us for a while. Yeah. He was on for, I would say, probably about 50 minutes as well. Lazzy, yeah. Johnny was great, man. Johnny was great.
Yeah. By the way, once again, everybody, if you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed, make sure you are liking, sharing, and subscribing for us. Hit the bell to get all the updates on it. Philk, I mean, I know I got to go cook dinner right now. We're making Big Mac Sloppy Joes tonight. I cannot wait to have some. See how that's going to be. And I got golf in the morning as well. But what do you got planned for the rest of the night?
Probably just going to relax, watch some puck. I'll probably record AEW and watch that at a later time. But yeah, definitely got to work on some grubs. because I wasn't even going to bother looking at my phone while we had Johnny on, so I didn't care what happened. That focus is all on the guests when they come on, so I gotta do that. But you know what, Willis Greta, I don't want to hear from you. I don't. I love AEW. I don't care what anybody says.
I've been talking about trying to get a stream going with the two of us for a while, especially talk hockey, talk movies. I've been meaning to do that. So again, we got to get that done.
I do streams with Rangers Central. The boys hop on, Natty and Evan. I'm going to try to get Nick on too, because it's funny. Nick and I actually have mutual friends, and from outside of the hockey world. It's actually, I don't know if you actually would know them. I'll talk about that in private, but it's funny because I want to get him on with them too, and get like the four of us going, because that would be fun. And Natty is saying we will be there. That would be good.
Well, hopefully, it's a little bit up in the air right now because I've had a personal matter come up, but somebody hit my car. That was not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. I saw that.
And now it's a matter of getting that fixed, making sure everything is taken care of to the dollar for my nuptials at the end of the year, which is the most important thing to me in my life, and the beautiful girl I'm going to be marrying. And it's just, it's I'll see about that. That's if the cards align, maybe I get to the All-Star game. It was a little bit more positive 3 months ago, but now there's other factors that are in there too. So, all right,
absolutely. Guys,
can't thank you enough. We have 426 of you that are in this with us right now, and that we had a great stream. I'll make sure I'm cutting up as much of this show as possible and answering any questions that we have. We still have to do a recap of the New York Islanders season, because that is important, and going over where they can improve. Probably first line right wing would be one of those things, I would say. And also, this is going to be an intense series. I will make sure that if Phil doesn't have a final buzzer the night before, I'll make sure I get on afterwards the next day. So keep that in mind with us. We're going to be talking a lot of pucks over the next at least 2 weeks, because this series is going to not be a short one. And oh yeah, Lou's watching us right now.
Yeah, Anthony's definitely popping in. Oh man, Anthony, you should have popped in and talked to Johnny. That would have been cool to see two media guys talk a little bit across. Johnny wanted to chirp you a little bit too, which would have been hilarious. So. And
now, by the way, we've had our second guest to play in Bar Talk, because after all, Anthony was able to ask Dave Pagnotta a couple questions, and that was a couple years ago.
That's cool. I love the fact that he was like, "Let's jump in, let's do this." So,
yeah. All right. Well, like I said, got a great dinner waiting for me, and the only thing we got to figure out is what movie we're going to watch tonight.
Go, let's go. So yeah.
All right. So,
are you serious right now?
That.
Oh my God.
Crossing our fingers. Like I said, guys, this is the reason we are growing. We're growing because of your supports, and we're also growing because of efforts like that.
Oh my God. I don't know how I'm going to get through that one if I'm there for that, because I might fanboy out a little bit.
I gotta tell you, Phil, the great thing about this, and I always say this, who's the best guest we have on? It's the next guest, because we've done such a great job. You've done it. I've done it. I mean, between getting the glove drop on, starting with Pagnotta, that was one of Anthony's first. Neil Smith was the guy that I was probably the most starstruck by. And by the time it got to the taping, we were just guys asking questions. So if it's Mike Modano, great. I think the guy that would get me starstruck, because it happened to me before, was Adam Graves. But then again, I ran into him at a game. That's the reason why.
Yeah, Modano would be one of them, because I mean, anybody who knows me knows how much I absolutely adore Mike Modano as a player and a person. So that one would be a big one for me. And I mean, it doesn't. We don't even need to say who the one who would really floor me. I think everybody knows who that one would be. I mean, my Twitter handle is literally a reference to it. But yeah, Modano would be one where I'd be like, this is just I'd have to line up questions so far in advance to make sure that I don't come off sounding like a total idiot and fanboy.
Well, Phil, that blows away me. I'm working on trying to get Sonny Milano on. So,
that would be a fun one too.
He'd be a fun one because he could tell you Tortorella stories. He could tell you about the Trevor Zegras goal the Zegras assist. He had the goal, and I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. So there's a ton of stuff that's on there. So again, the next guest is always the best one. So I can't wait for that.
Oh my God, man. Madonna would be sick if we could pull that off. That would be just unreal level of just wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, the best part is about that, Phil?
Yeah.
Maria's fangirling right now. She's actually kind of in the other room saying that. So.
Oh, she loves Mike Modano too?
Oh, yeah. Well, who doesn't love Mike Modano? I mean.
That's great. I didn't know she was a big one. I'm sitting here debating on pulling out my North Stars Modano shirt for that interview because I can't. He's just
you do that. We booked Mike Modano. I'll get a Team USA Mike Modano jersey right then and there, so that way I can wear.
Oh my God! I would go get that friggin' World Cup of Hockey '96 jersey with Modano on it. Oh man, that would be. No.
Yeah, because guys, once again, I mean, we all love our teams, but man, we love hockey even more.
Yeah.
So I can't argue with that enough. Ooh, Anthony popping back in. Hey, Anthony,
that would be something special if you got Modano to respond.
I'm trying.
I know that's insane, man. If you could pull that one off, oh man, that would be one of the biggest heists we could have.
I reached out to Jackie Redmond too, but we'll see if I get a response from that.
Whoa, okay. I'm gonna have to try to be beat red throughout that show. Sorry.
See, look, that's a great thing about being taken. I don't have to worry about that.
I mean, yeah, you're lucky in that regard. Me,
I'm beat red all the time.
I mean, maybe I'll just go get a sunburn so I don't look like I'm like completely blushing the entire time she's on. So.
Oh, Anthony, your count is pretty solid right there. I mean, you got Kasperitis, Ray Ferraro, Dan Rosen. You got
Grabner, Biron.
Biron. I mean, Marty Biron. Come on, that was back in the days of all things Rangers. So
no, that wasn't.
Yeah, that was.
It was actually.
We weren't all things Rangers at that time.
I got the video to show you. I can prove it.
Really? We were all things Rangers at that time.
Yeah.
Keith Jones was a good
We've
one.
grown a lot, guys. We've grown a lot in the last 4 years.
That's another one we got on.
Keith Jones was a fantastic one.
Yeah. I think Ray Jacob Slavin was great. I thought Ray was great because Ray just I was just feeding him questions and he was just we all were obviously, but like he was just I have no problem. Let's talk. Let's talk. And he would just and his details. Jimmy Dowd, Jimmy Dowd and Ray were not just like questions, but they were like Jimmy Dowd. Like it became like almost like we're legitimately about to have beers and sit down and just talk hockey and bullshit for like a couple hours. That's what that felt like with Jimmy.
We had Ryan Carter too.
Ryan Carter was decent.
Yeah, Ryan Carter was on with us.
Ryan Miller.
Yeah, Ryan Miller. I remember he didn't have the video on, but Ryan Miller was great.
Yeah,
Ryan Miller was great.
He was funny. Marty Biron was very funny. He cracked.
I love Marty Biron.
Yeah.
He cracked.
And Phil, don't forget before when we were off the post, we also had a great cast. I mean, we had Dennis Potha and Brendan Burke.
So this guy decided to play a nice little prank on me, and and absolutely just air me out and rat me out to Dennis Potvin about the Potvin sucks chance. But I took it like a champ, and Dennis was really cool about it. He was very nice. He was a great interview. I would, if you got him on again, I would absolutely be pro for it. And I would not be shocked in the slightest bit if you reminded him of off the
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you would do that.
Yeah.
By the way, you want to talk about somebody that owns something? Dennis Potvin owns Potvin sucks. I mean, as much as Ranger fans, I'll say that to my at a game, but Dennis Potvin he just runs right with it. He turned into that skid better than anyone else.
You seen the movie She's Out of My League?
Yes.
So you know how T.J. Miller, not to be confused with J.T. Miller, who sometimes Joe Micheletti calls him, has the nickname Stainer.
Mm-hmm.
And remember the story about it?
Yep.
And how he turned around and he said, I used it as a nickname so nobody can weaponize it against me. It's the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you with your gaps.
The Florida play-by-play guy we had. Or was it Randy Moeller? We had Randy Moeller on.
Randy Moeller, yes, we had Randy Moeller. And Randy Moeller has the greatest goal calls you will ever. There is literally YouTube compilations of him. Like he references freaking Cool Mo D and goes, I go to work like a doctor. Like who the fuck references that other than Randy Moeller, who's the J.E. We had Randy Moeller on a while ago.
Yeah.
That was
Jamie Baker. You remember Jamie Baker?
Jamie Baker, yeah. Wait, Randy Moeller was with us on here, right? Not
off the post.
Oh, he was off the post.
Off the post, that's right.
Yeah.
Randy Moeller was off the post.
Dave
I'm
Maloney.
sorry.
Dave Maloney,
well,
too.
Rick Jenner obviously is great with calls, but Randy Muller's his calls are just completely off the wall for Florida Panthers radio back in the day.
We got what? Joe
Beninati and Craig Laughlin.
Yep.
And then I got to interview Alan May in person at the draft.
Yes,
it was awesome. And
that.
I'll never forget that because Alan May, when I was talking to him, he turned around and I asked him a question about John Carlson, and he called it right away. He was like, John Carlson is not leaving this weekend without a contract. And while we were on the plane back home Sunday, he called it and said, and John Carlson got signed. So it was pretty cool that Alan May knew something was up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would be one of the guys, we'll just say, that are unavailable? Either because we're probably never going to get them, like Lou. I mean, I'd love to have Lou. Lou would probably be up there. Or that have passed on, like, say, Herb Brooks, I would love to have on. But obviously I can't.
Gretz, because he's my idol, obviously, and I think it would be very tough. And then maybe Hank, because it would be really tough. Like I could maybe try to DM Valaket and see if he would come on, because he's a mutual follow of mine. So I may be able to try to pull that off. I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know if I can get Valaket. I will absolutely let everybody know about that if I could pull that one off. But I think it's going to be hard because he's a part of MSG Networks.
Yeah.
But so was Biron.
We almost got Jeremy Roenick. I remember it might have been. I think it was last summer. I reached out.
Yeah, Roenick would be so good.
He would be a walking soundbite. I would love to talk hockey with Roenick.
Yeah. He responded to me. He just wasn't able to. He wasn't able to make it work. But
I will try him again this year. Plenty of time.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. Maybe we could try him again. You know what? I'll reach out to Valaket. I'll see if I can get Valaket on. I'll just be like, hey, listen, we had Jonny Lazarus just on with us. We're looking for, Rangers content. If you have some free time, if the network allows, I'll be.
I feel like PK Subban would be a good interview too, because he's got a lot of personality.
Oh, he would be. You know what? He gets a lot of shit. And I love seeing his interactions with Messi. I would love to ask him to see how the vibe is with him and Mess, just to kind of mess with him a little bit. But I think PK would be a fun interview, man.
The one guy I would love, but it would be tough, is Elliot Friedman. I mean, if we can get Friedman, that would be amazing.
truth be told, because I was feeling hot today. Like I said, mentioned Jackie Redmond and Mike Modano. I sent an email to Elliot Friedman. I mean, we'll see if I get a response.
Okay.
But
I know you tried the Bob Father a while ago.
yeah, that was that was like before we were anybody. So I really shot high there. But the problem is my media guide is the last one I have is from the 2021 season. So I don't know if the email address for Elliot Friedman is the same it is now, but I use that one.
Some of them might change it up throughout the year, because I wonder if they change them even season to season.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, he would be. I think we could all agree he's probably the best insider in the league, Elliot Friedman, right? I mean,
probably, yeah.
Right now, him or Sarah Valley, yeah.
Or McKenzie is McKenzie?
No, McKenzie's retired.
He's like pretty much retired.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margarita Bob.
Margarita Bobby. Bobby Margarita, as he goes by.
Yeah.
This Elliot, he's so probably hard. He's always doing something. So I don't know if he would have.
Oh, Butchie! I would love. I am a huge Butchie fan.
I like Butchie too.
Huge
love Butchie.
So
Steve Levy too. Steve Levy was another one.
I love Weeks. I think Weeks is great.
I love Weeks too. Would you guys remember last year? I
did the hot tub.
On Twitter, yeah, and he responded to my tweet, but he dodged the question about coming on the show, though. So that was important. He responded, but he didn't actually answer the main question. So but I tried.
We'll end up getting him at some point.
Hey, you know what? This is actually a good question from J.E. Could you get Berkey? With your connection with the Islanders and everything.
Oh, Brendan! At first, I thought he was saying Brian Burke.
Brian Burke's got a lot of great stories too, guys.
Yeah, I would absolutely sit there and listen to Brian Burke's stories. If he wants to go up and tell a bunch of stories, I'm sitting back and I'm going to go grab some popcorn and just let him go.
I love the one he told on the Steve Dangle podcast. But Anthony,
I probably could get Brendan Burke. I mean, Phil, we had Brendan Burke on Off the Post.
Off the Post, yeah, years ago. Yeah, you know what? You could definitely get him again then, because you could bring and that was before he was really the Islanders' main play-by-play guy at that point.
Yeah.
I think he just started doing games for them, right?
Well, that would have been what? That would have been I think we had him on.
2018.
2018. Yeah. And then we had Stan Fischler on. We had Stan Fischler on too.
Yeah, we did.
Actually, Stan Fischler is in the Big Apple Hockey contacts. He follows us, so I'd love to have him on.
We don't dislike Brendan Burke. I actually think Brendan Burke is one of the best play-by-play guys in the entire league.
If not the best.
You know what's funny? Butch gets to be a bit of a homer, and Brendan can wrangle him in. There are times where Butch going too, where he's a little more slanted, but you expect that from on a regional broadcast as opposed to a national. Yeah. But when Brendan Burke does national broadcasts, I love them because I think he's one of the absolute best. Like if I'm watching a national broadcast and I'm going to get either Burke, John Forsland, because I love Forsland. Forsland's great
calls.
One of the very best at what he does. And you know what? A guy that I think is great that doesn't get enough recognition, Bob Wischusen. Bob Wischusen great at hockey. Yeah. And he was great with like football and stuff years ago, and he used to be with the Fan and whatnot. Bob Wischusen's great. He's another one I just love.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have Thomas Hickey on soon. I mean, I showed you guys Thomas Hickey.
Yeah, it definitely. I would love to have him on. Him doing like a season end with the Islanders and stuff like that. That'd be awesome, man.
That would be fantastic, Anthony.
I loved his addition to the game. I mean, he's actually really good. He definitely has a career in being an analyst. He's
seamless transition.
Yeah, see. Hickey, he really is. So
I think he's him and Burke, to me, I think are the two best parts of Islander broadcasts.
Yeah.
I think Hickey just his analysis is usually spot on. And he never sounds flustered. He sounds so natural doing it. It just like it's nothing to him.
I mean, he's probably going to, I would imagine he'll take over for Butch once Butch decides to not do it anymore.
I think so. And I think he'd be great at it. You know what? It's funny because I look at Henrik Lundqvist and when they started bringing him on and how he was kind of like tentative at first to kind of like step in. And, like you felt like there was something just a little off. He's gotten a hell of a lot better. I think Henrik's great now at it. But there was never that period of transition for Hickey. Like it was just like, okay, like this is nothing.
I know. Yeah.
So
I mean, there's so many guys. You guys let me know. I could try. I mean, Liam McHugh. I would love to have Liam McHugh on. I like him a lot. I think he's fun.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Liam McHugh's an Islander fan.
Yeah, he is. That's why him and Biz made that bet in the playoffs. So it looks like it would. I don't. Do you know it, Mark?
No, I didn't know what the bet was.
It was whoever went further had to get a tattoo of like. So if the Maple Leafs come back and win, the Liam McHugh would have to get a Maple Leaf tattoo, and if the Islanders would have went further than the Leafs, Biz would have had to get an Islander tattoo. So that was their bet, but yeah, no, he's good. He's definitely good.
All right.
I mean, all those guys. Anson Carter. Anson Carter would be great.
I would love to get Anson Carter. Oh man, if you got Anson Carter, I love him. I think he's great. I wish MSG would have never let him go, but he's meant to do this. So having him on national broadcasts, I think is better for the game.
Yeah, he's just such an easy to listen to voice. So yeah. All right. But guys, I gotta cut it off right here because I got a bunch of other things I have to.
440 still with us. Thank you all so much for joining. And if you guys really want to give credit to somebody here, it's actually this guy for helping us get Jonny Lazarus on. So he kind of initiated the conversation when I quote tweeted Jonny about that Boiler quote. And that's why Jonny said that I'll tell Boiler you apologize, because it was that whole thread where Johnny's very responsive on Twitter too. Like when he said before that he tries to get to everybody, he does try to get to everybody. So like he'll respond to you, and as long as you treat him well, he's usually very good with people. So
yeah.
And also once again, check out my breakdown of the series, Eye of the Storm, and I think this series is going to be this is going to be a hell of a series. I think it's going to be one of those we're going to talk about for a while, guys.
Before we sign off, Mark, I wanted to mention it earlier, but I couldn't fit it in because obviously it doesn't do with what we were talking about. But what are your guys' thoughts on this speculation that if the Leafs go out in the first round here, that they could potentially move Mitch Marner?
You know what? After what happened, I would not be shocked one bit if something happens, because it's going to be tough for them to move Tavares. I don't see him leaving. And Marner would get them a king's ransom in return. He really would, and he would be a welcome addition anywhere. But if they are done in this series, something has to happen where a core move has to happen. You're not moving Nylander after you just signed him to that contract. No. And I mean, I would probably move him, and I would get rid of Sheldon Keefe. I don't think Sheldon Keefe is all that great.
I think Chris is on the right track, but I think it's actually more like 12 here. That's the thing, though. I mean, whoever trades for Marner, he's got 1 year left. You're going to have to be prepared to give him $11, $12 million AAV. That plays into the trade discussion, because that's a big nut to offer. So,
and I definitely would not want to see him walking if I'm the team that picks him up. Like, no chance. No, you're not walking. Yeah. You're coming pre-signed. That might actually make the deal, like, you might have to pay more for him to make sure that contract is in place. But I have to say this, and again, Anthony, we talked about it before, and I've said it repeatedly. Korea and Solani were one of the best duos I've ever seen, and they did not play for Anaheim in the Stanley Cup Finals together. Korea played against the Devils, lost, and Solani won against the Senators. So it's just you don't get your superstar the entire time. My question is, what is Toronto trying to look for? That's like you can't just put another talented player on there. It's got to be a change.
There were the rumors about UC Saros. What if the Leafs decide to trade Marner for Saros in a deal like that? Leafs get a high end goaltender, which is a big part of the problem, and the Predators get a guy that they've been looking for a long time, that elite level high point getter forward. I mean, in theory, it works, right? I mean, it solves problems for the Leafs.
Yeah, in theory, communism works. So,
oh God, Mark,
it's a Homer Simpson quote.
I know,
but guys, no, absolutely not. I because Anthony, I brought this up before. The last time the trade like that ever happened, where it was a superstar player went for a goaltender, it was Bertuzzi for Luongo, and it did not work out. Oddly enough, it worked out for Vancouver, and usually the people will say you take the guy that affects 80 games over the guy that's going to affect 60 games. So,
yeah. I mean, this comment, does Chicago really have? I mean, I guess they got guys like Nazar and you know, I guess, but I don't see them moving a guy like that though. So I don't know if Chicago realistically has the pieces to get that done.
They do, but they're not readily available.
Yeah, Anthony,
you have to have pieces. You have to have the pieces, but two, you also have to have the readily available pieces to move. Like,
they're not going to move him either.
No, and that's it. Also doesn't make sense. Their trajectory and their timeline with Marner, while Marner's still young, it doesn't make sense for Chicago. Yes, it makes sense to get somebody to help Bedard out, and yeah, Bedard's numbers would probably go to through the roof. But it's a team that's ready to make that next step into contender status, that has available assets to move. That's really going to be the team for Marner.
What about the artist formerly known as the Coyotes, as Jay's referring to?
This is actually a good proposal here. What about Anaheim for Zegras and Gibson? That's an interesting one.
I just don't know if Trevor Zegras is the guy to move the needle for the Maple Leafs.
But so here's the thing: who's going to give up 4 or 5 blue chip, like anywhere from 3 to 5 blue chip prospects plus a first round pick for Mitch Marner? Who's going to do that?
Anthony, you just said it.
Would Utah move like Logan Cooley plus for Mitch Marner? They have a lot of assets.
I don't know about that.
They have enough draft picks that it would entice Toronto.
I could be saying, I mean, yeah, Ryan Smith, the new owner, he said he wants to make a splash. I mean, how else do you draw up a ton of interest in your new hockey team by trading for a name like Mitch Marner?
I don't know.
I
mean, you're giving up a guy like Dylan Guenther.
That's a soft goal by Ottinger. Are you kidding? Oh.
But that is going to be a question we're going to be answering the entire way through this summer. So, but first things first, Toronto, they got to stay alive. They got to keep staying alive. If they're eliminated, then this talk is just going to.
Here's going to be the question to that. Even if they win that series, let's just say they lose the next one. I mean, it's not first round, and you got past that bugaboo in the first round. You won that series. Now you got to start advancing really in the playoffs. If they don't advance beyond the second round, I think they're still having that discussion.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But blue shirts, it's because those nights have been too few and far between, and a lot of people had a lot to say about that. And Stammer has already had talks with the owner, by the way, so there's going to be talks about that.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're going to be able to come to a deal. So,
hopefully that is going to be the case. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping it up, and it's been a marathon of a show. So, everybody, thank you very much, and I can't even play the song all over again, but what a night. And yeah, Anthony,
Yeah,
I was ready for you to say Coyotes because we talked about that the other day.
No, I know. Like I said, they have an owner that wants to make a splash. They have draft capital. They have young players. So it could be a good fit. We'll have to see.
By the way, keep in mind with Stammer's age, I have to double check that. I think he falls under the 35 plus category. I gotta see. Stammer's younger than what you think.
Yeah, I think he does because Crosby's going to be 37 in August, and I'm pretty sure Stammer's, I think, 2 years younger than him, or maybe 3.
Mark, I don't want your blood pressure to be raised because someone just mentioned Jacob Chikrin. So
no, it's not that bad right now.
You know what? Stammer's 34 right now. Just turned 34 in February, so I don't know if he does actually. I don't know what the rule is on that. That's a question for Stat Boy Steven. So.
Yeah, because I know 35 and over, those are guaranteed. They're on there. And if it's a 35 in February, he might make the cut.
Yeah.
So, but guys, everybody, once again, thanks for joining us, and we got a lot more pucks we're going to be discussing. So everybody, thank you very much, and we will see you again soon.